Good evening, everybody, or good evening, good afternoon. It is almost 2:30 on Tuesday. We got a good little lineup today. Yesterday, as everybody knows, Trump spoke in regards to Washington, D.C. being federalized. There was a lot to take in there, and today you have the White House Press Secretary, Karoline Leavitt. She's going to speak on the after effects and everything that's going on with that. We've got Putin coming to Russia, or coming to America, to Alaska. And then we have also Judge Jeannine Pirro. She's live on a press conference that has to do with Haitian gangs. So we will figure all that out, see what's going on with that. Just wanted to say what's up. Hold on, let me get this started. Then we'll go right to the press conference. I messed up and didn't do one of the steps before I went live. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. All right, let's go. Bam.
Morning, Trump will travel across the country to Anchorage, Alaska, for a bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The brutal war between Russia and Ukraine broke out under Joe Biden's incompetent leadership, but President Trump is determined to try and end this war and stop the killing. As the president has said over and over again, his strong preference will always be for peace and partnership whenever those outcomes can possibly be achieved. There is no leader in the world right now who has been more committed to preventing wars or ending them than President Donald Trump. Just look at what took place here at the White House last Friday, when President Trump hosted the Azerbaijani president and Armenian prime minister and got the two leaders to sign a historic joint declaration for peace, ending a decades-long conflict that disrupted the region and claimed countless lives. In other news, we continue to see positive economic reports across the board. Today's CPI report revealed that inflation beat market expectations once again, and inflation remains stable. Overall, inflation has run at a 1.9 average annual pace in President Trump's first 6 months in office. Prices for everyday goods continue to decline. Energy prices fell in July, including gasoline, which is down nearly 10% over last year, and propane, which is down 2.5% over last year as well. Egg prices fell once again in July and are down 20% since President Trump took office. Shelter inflation, the largest contributor to overall inflation, is at its lowest level since October of 2021. Wage growth for American workers is beating inflation once again. As inflation declines, this administration continues to be wholeheartedly committed to putting more money back into the American people's pockets. American real wages are up 1.3% over last year and have increased each month since President Trump took office. And small business optimism, according to this morning's report, has also reached a 5-month high. Ignore the panicans and trust in President Trump. That is our motto here at the White House. The America First economic agenda is working. On another matter, yesterday, President Trump took bold action to finally restore law and order right here in our nation's capital. The president declared a crime emergency in the District of Columbia, federalized the D.C. Police Department, and mobilized the D.C. National Guard to end violent crime in our nation's capital. As part of the president's massive law enforcement surge, last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to a lewd in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant. A total of 6 illegal handguns were seized off of District of Columbia streets as part of last night's effort. This is only the beginning. Over the course of the next month, the Trump administration will relentlessly pursue and arrest every violent criminal in the district who breaks the law, undermines public safety, and endangers law-abiding Americans. President Trump will not be deterred by soft-on-crime Democrats and media activists who refuse to acknowledge this rampant violence on our streets. He is going to make our nation's capital the most beautiful and safe city on earth, just as he promised on the campaign trail. Staying on the topic of public safety, the Trump administration continues to shatter records on border security. According to brand new numbers released this morning from Customs and Border Patrol, illegal crossings have fallen to all-time lows once again. Here were the records set in July. Again, these numbers were released this morning. The lowest monthly nationwide encounters ever, down nearly 90% from the monthly average under the Biden administration. The lowest monthly Border Patrol apprehensions nationwide ever, smashing the previous record set the prior month in June. The lowest monthly Southwest border apprehensions ever. The lowest daily apprehension average ever. The lowest single-day apprehensions ever. And for the third straight month, there were 0 illegal aliens released into the country. Let me repeat that remarkable statistic. For the third month in a row, not a single illegal alien was released by the Trump administration into the United States of America. This is historic. Under President Trump, this border is the most secure it has ever been. When you fortify the border, when you restore deterrence, and when you empower Border Patrol agents and our brave men and women in uniform to actually do their jobs to enforce our laws, like this president has, this is the incredible result. And in the interior of our country, criminal illegal aliens continue to be arrested and removed. Here are some of the criminals arrested by ICE in just the last few days. ICE Buffalo arrested an illegal alien from Jamaica convicted of attempted murder. ICE Buffalo also arrested an illegal alien from Ecuador convicted of leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death. ICE Houston arrested an illegal alien from Mexico convicted of manslaughter. ICE Newark arrested an illegal alien from Mexico convicted of the sexual assault of a minor. ICE Dallas arrested an illegal alien from Mexico convicted of assault causing bodily injury. And already the Trump administration has arrested more than 300,000 illegal aliens in 2025. Again, more than 300,000 illegal alien criminals have been arrested in the interior of our country in the first 6 months of this administration. And despite many false reports in the media, nearly 70% of these arrests have been criminal aliens with criminal charges or prior convictions. This is success all around. This is removing the most dangerous public safety threats from America's communities and returning these individuals to their home countries. So there's been success all around. I'm sure you have a lot of questions today. I'm happy to get to them. So let's get started. And as always, we'll start with our new media seat, who is our podcast host today, Benny Johnson. Benny, why don't you kick us off? And thanks for being here.
Thank you, Karoline. As a DC resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20. And my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing this city. My question to you is this. Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying the National Guard to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton has also attacked the president for securing the city of Washington, D.C. I'd like to get your response to Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton.
Sure. Well, first of all, Benny, I'm so sorry that happened to you and your family. There have been, unfortunately, far too many victims of crime in this city. And I know the majority of residents in the District of Columbia agree with you. In fact, a new poll from the Washington Post I was reading this morning, this was released in May of 2024. So it's quite funny how many of you in the media agreed with what the president was saying yesterday. But now once the president says it, many of you are disagreeing with him. But this poll released by the Washington Post found that 65% of district residents think crime is an extremely serious or a very serious problem. And this was up from 56% last year. So the concern that you share with so many other residents in the District of Columbia is real. And that's why this president is taking action to address it. To get to the heart of your question, I think it's despicable that Democrats cannot agree that we need more law and order in a city that has been ravaged by violence, crime, murders, property theft. This should be a winning issue for all Americans. I don't understand. It's just anything President Trump does, the Democrats want to disagree with. I think the president would love to work with Democrats on this issue to bring law and order to America's cities, but unfortunately they have failed. And that's why he's taken this historic action to federalize the National Guard. And as you're seeing from last night's numbers, we already have seen success. We are removing violent offenders, we are arresting criminals, and we are removing drugs and firearms off of the streets of the city to make it safer for all of its residents.
Just a very quick follow-up to that. Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
I haven't spoken to him about that, but perhaps it's something he would consider. I'll ask him and get back to you, Betty. Thanks for being here. Gabe.
Thank you, Karoline. Regarding the President Trump summit on Friday, why not invite Ukrainian President Zelensky to that summit? I know the president said yesterday that he planned to speak with him right after the summit and even before, but why not invite Zelensky? And whose decision was it to not invite him? Was it the president or was it President Putin?
Well, this meeting came about because the president of Russia asked the president of the United States to meet through his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who, as you all know, traveled to Russia to have a conversation with Putin at his request. And so the president is agreeing to this meeting at the request of President Putin. And the goal of this meeting for the president is to walk away with a better understanding of how we can end this war. And the president said at this podium yesterday, when he joined all of you in the room, that he hopes in the future there can be a trilateral meeting with these three leaders to finally bring this conflict to an end. But this administration has really used every lever, has taken every measure to achieve peace through a diplomatic solution. And I think the president of the United States getting in the room with the president of Russia, sitting face to face rather than speaking over the telephone, will give this president the best indication of how to end this war and where this is headed.
And another question on something that happened yesterday, but I wanted to get the White House response. A judge ruled that the grand jury transcripts in Ghislaine Maxwell's case should not be released. What's the White House response to that? And do you plan to appeal? And what do you tell President Trump supporters who want that information released?
We think that decision is unfortunate. Of course, we moved to unseal that information because the president has said he wants to see credible evidence released. As for the appeal process, I would defer you to the Department of Justice for that.
Rachel. Thanks so much, Karoline. We're learning that President Trump spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky. I was curious if you can share any more details about their call, and did Zelensky give President Trump any red lines, any non-starters ahead of this summit on Friday?
Look, I don't want to reveal the private conversations between the president and President Zelensky, but what I can tell you is that the president has deep respect for all parties that are involved in this conflict and are trying to bring this conflict to an end. After Special Envoy Witkoff returned from his meeting with President Putin in Russia, his first phone call was to President Trump. And President Trump's first phone call was to President Zelensky and to our friends in Europe to keep everybody in the loop about where the United States can see moving the ball forward to end this conflict. And so we continue to be very much engaged with President Zelensky and the Ukrainians, but also our allies in Europe as well.
And then just one more for you. How does the president measure success coming out of this meeting? The president at times has suggested that Putin might be tapping him along. Is he prepared to walk out of this meeting if he senses that Putin is not serious about ending this war?
I think I just answered that question for you and what the goal and the expectation of the meeting is. And I won't jump ahead of any hypotheticals, and I'll leave it to the president to speak to all of you after the meeting, which I'm very confident he will. Steve.
Are you optimistic that a deal will emerge from this meeting, or is he simply going to listen?
I think this is a listening exercise for the president. Look, only one party that's involved in this war is going to be present. And so this is for the president to go and to get, again, a more firm and better understanding of how we can hopefully bring this war to an end.
Caroline, how did you settle on Alaska as the site for this? So there were some other sites being discussed. Was this like it was a midpoint between the two meetings?
There were many sites discussed, but of course, Alaska is a state within the United States of America. So the president is very honored and looks forward to hosting President Putin on American soil.
Is there a joint news conference plan, or will the president have a solo one? What sort of scheduling stuff?
Yeah, the mechanics and the scheduling, Steve, are still being ironed out. For Friday, we're working with our Russian counterparts to put those plans into action. And of course, we'll keep you all apprised on the logistical details of Friday as soon as we get them. Charlie?
The president said at the podium yesterday twice that he was planning to go to Russia. Was that a verbal slip-up, or does he actually plan to go to Russia?
Perhaps there are plans in the future to travel to Russia. And on Friday, the president will be meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, as you know. Phil?
Last week, the president said the CEO of Intel was highly conflicted, seeming to cite his past investment with Chinese companies that were doing business with the Chinese military. Yesterday, he called his meeting with that CEO a success. So what can you tell us about what the Intel CEO said to President Trump that changed his mind?
The president put out a statement that you cited, Phil. I will leave it at that. He shared his thoughts on that meeting and how it went. And for any further comment on that, I'll leave it to him to make.
Will the Bureau of Labor Statistics continue to put out monthly jobs reports?
Well, look, what I'll tell you about the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I believe that is the plan and that's the hope, and that these monthly reports will be data that the American people can trust. As you know, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has made massive revisions after the last several points reports that they have put out. And there has certainly been a decline in the quality and the reliability of data coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and there's been an increase in revisions. And this president and the administration is finally tackling this problem that so many have talked about, and the president is actually doing something about it. We need to restore new leadership that we can trust. As you know, the president has appointed someone new to take over the BLS, and so we need to look at the means and the methods of how the United States is acquiring this very important data, and all of that is going to be done, and the goal, of course, is to provide honest and good data for the American people to make very important economic decisions on. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions, if I may. The president has talked about land swaps between Russia and Ukraine. Vladimir Putin says he wants Russia to hold on to Russian-occupied territory in eastern Ukraine. Is the White House at all concerned about the messaging that potentially giving over or allowing for Russia to maintain its occupied territory in eastern Ukraine, what that might say to other U.S. adversaries like China?
Look, right now, the president of the United States has done more to end this war than his predecessor, Joe Biden, who allowed this war to take place. This war, don't forget, happened at the result of the weakness and the incompetence of the previous administration. And so the president inherited this conflict, and he is determined to end it. And it's a very complex and complicated situation. As for the details of the plans that have been kind of tossed back and forth, I won't get into those. And I will let the president of the United States discuss those plans with the president of Russia, with our European allies, and the president of Ukraine, Zelensky himself as well. Sure, go ahead, in the green.
Thank you, Caroline. As far as the policing and security operations, if you speak up, is there a timeline? Do we know what success looks like? Is it going to last longer than 30 days? And also, is there going to be an immigration enforcement aspect to this?
So can you speak up a little bit? The air conditioning is bumping in here for all of you today after yesterday's heater. So we've got to stock up. You're welcome. Go ahead.
Is there a timeline for the security operations here in DC? And also, is there going to be an immigration component to this? And what would that look like?
Look, if law enforcement officers encounter a criminal in this city, and they are an illegal alien, of course, the appropriate measures to detain and deport that individual will be taken, as they should. No city should be a sanctuary for anyone other than law-abiding American citizens, and that has been the position of this administration since day one. As for the timing, we will reevaluate and reassess and make further decisions after this 30-day period is up. But within these 30 days, our entire focus is making sure that this is the most efficient operation possible and that we are removing as many criminals from the streets and we are cleaning up DC as best as we can and working with the Metropolitan Police Department to do that. I know the mayor just spoke several minutes ago. I was watching her on television and she said that an increase of law enforcement officers on the streets will be helpful to deter crime in this city. And we look forward to working with these brave men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department to remove criminals off of our streets and to keep law-abiding citizens in the district safe. Josh.
Thank you. The president weighed in on Jay Powell again today, you might have seen. He said that he's considering allowing a major lawsuit against Powell to proceed because of the, quote, horrible and grossly incompetent job he has done. Can you tell us about that? What lawsuit is he talking about?
He's considering a lawsuit, and I won't speak on it any further. I will allow the president to do that himself.
Is it fair to say the administration is considering suing the Fed chair over this renovation?
That's what the president is saying.
Has he had discussions with anyone about this, or is this just like how advanced is this right now?
At this moment in time, the president is considering a lawsuit against the Fed, and I will leave it to him to comment further on it. Tamara, go ahead.
We talked about yesterday. We talked about the NVIDIA chips deal. The president has struck it as well. The AMD, the 15% stake will go to the government. Do you have any detail on how that came about? The president said he asked for 20% from NVIDIA. Did he make the same 20% ask to AMD, and/or is this something the administration is looking to do with other either chips or products, going forward? Is this a model it wants to build on?
Well, look, right now it stands with these two companies. Perhaps it could expand in the future to other companies. I think it's a creative idea and solution. The legality of it, the mechanics of it is still being ironed out by the Department of Commerce, and I would defer you to them for any further details on how it will actually be implemented. But again, this was another idea of the president and his brain trust on his trade team to try to, get good deals for the American people and the American taxpayer.
Did you see the report that China is discouraging use of the H20 to some companies? Since we're reporting that overnight there was private guidance sent to companies not banning the chip but urging them to steer away from it. I wonder if you have any response to that.
I haven't read the report. I will, and we'll get you a comment on it. Tamara.
Thank you. Last week, the meeting with Putin was sort of described potentially as an opportunity for a deal. Now it's a feeling out. Has there been a shift in expectations within the White House or an effort to temper expectations about what success looks like for this meeting?
I mean, look, I think both can be true, right? The president has always said he wants a peace deal. He wants to see this war come to an end. But this bilateral meeting is a bilateral meeting between one party in this two-party war, right? You need both countries to agree to a deal. The president is accepting this bilateral meeting with Putin on Friday, and I will let him speak further to it after it concludes about how he felt it went.
And also, completely unrelated topic, regarding the president's efforts in Washington, D.C., do you have any specifics about how homeless people will be dealt with, where they would be moved to? What does this look like?
I do, yes. And it's an important question, so thank you for raising it. The Metropolitan Police Department, with the support of the new federal agencies who have been surging on the streets of the District of Columbia, are going to enforce the laws that are already on the books here in Washington, D.C. For far too long, these laws have been completely ignored, and the homelessness problem has ravaged the city. So D.C. Code 22-1307 and D.C. Municipal Regulation 24-100 give the Metropolitan Police Department the authority to take action when it comes to homeless encampments. So homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services. And if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. Again, these are pre-existing laws that are already on the books. They have not been enforced, which is part of the reason for this federalizing of the National Guard to bring in this assistance for law enforcement. While we are targeting criminals and trying to remove criminals off of the streets, we also want to make DC safe and beautiful, and that involves removing mentally disturbed individuals and homeless encampments as well. So we will be using these regulations and code that already exists to clean up our streets. And we've already had great success. Not many of you picked up on this, but the United States Park Police has actually done remarkable work in terms of removing homeless encampments from the city. Since the president signed this executive order in March, 70 homeless encampments have been removed by the U.S. Park Police. There are only 2 homeless encampments remaining in DC federal parks under the National Park Service's jurisdiction. And the removal of those 2 remaining camps is scheduled for this week. So the U.S. Park Police will be leading this effort alongside MPD.
Just very quickly, he had talked in one of his social media posts about moving them very far outside of the city. Is that off?
No, it's not off. We're exploring how we could do that. But again, homeless shelters, offered addiction and mental health services, or jail if they refuse are the options on the table right now. And we'll continue to explore that option.
Sure. Thank you so much, Karoline. President Zelensky said moments ago that he thinks Russia is preparing for a new offensive on at least 3 different areas of the front line. Is this something that you could confirm based on U.S. intelligence? And if the president sees that Putin is indeed planning major new offensive or moving troops, would he call off the meeting on Friday?
I'm not in a position to confirm or deny or comment on that intel at this time. Monica.
Thanks, Caroline. My question involves Russiagate. A whistleblower alleges that then Congressman Adam Schiff approved leaking classified information to smear President Trump's image during the Russiagate scandal. Does the president plan to investigate Adam Schiff, and what would accountability look like if more information confirms this report?
The president has already said he wants to see Adam Schiff held accountable for the countless lies he told the American people in relation to the Russiagate scandal. I brought Tulsi Gabbard out to this podium to talk to you about all of that. And this administration is taking accountability very seriously. As for this new FBI whistleblower report, I understand Kash Patel last night declassified a 302 FBI document showing that a whistleblower who is a Democrat, a career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intel Committee for more than a decade, repeatedly warned the FBI in 2017 that then Rep. Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear then President Donald Trump over the Russiagate scandal. This is obviously a bombshell whistleblower report. Hopefully more people in this room will cover it as such. And I have a quote from the FBI director for all of you. He has said this: for years, certain officials used their positions to selectively leak classified information to shape political narratives. It was all done with one purpose: to weaponize intelligence and law enforcement for political gain. Those abuses eroded public trust in our institutions. The FBI will now lead the charge with our partners at DOJ, and Congress will have the chance to uncover how political power may have been weaponized and to restore accountability. That's what the administration is focused on, and hopefully we'll see some more media reports on this whistleblower allegation. If this were reversed, if this were allegations against the president or any of these cabinet officials, I'm sure everyone in this room would cover it as such. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. After yesterday's action to federalize the DC police, is the president still interested in working with Congress to end the Home Rule Act, something he's talked about in the past? Senator Mike Lee has a bill on it. Is that something he's still interested in?
The president is very much still interested in working with Congress to address many of the issues that have plagued Washington, D.C., such as the cashless bail policy, which has been a complete disaster for the city. Juvenile delinquency is another major problem in the city that Congress can address. So I know Congress is on recess right now. When they get back to work to Washington, this president looks forward to having these conversations with our friends on Capitol Hill so we can work with them to make D.C. safe and beautiful again. And again, we encourage Democrats to join us in this effort. Perhaps their approval ratings would move up a little bit if they did. I saw a new poll today. Democrat approval rating is at an all-time low, 32%. If they could just stand by the basic notion of law and order, perhaps they would see that tick up a bit, and we welcome them to do that. Dasha.
Thanks, Caroline. President Trump yesterday at this podium indicated this, so has NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, that in order for peace to happen, it is very likely that Ukraine will have to cede some land to Russia. Zelensky has repeatedly said no land for peace. That's not going to happen. Has this administration communicated to Zelensky that he's going to have to change that position?
Look, I appreciate you're asking that question in a different way than your colleague Michael in the back. I don't want to get into the details of these negotiations and these discussions that have taken place out of respect for where we are right now. And I'll let the president speak on it further if he wishes to.
One more about Israel. I know the president has had a call with Prime Minister Netanyahu recently. Netanyahu is planning to seize the remainder of Gaza City. What is the administration's position on this move by Israel's government?
Look, this is an incredibly complex and complicated war that, again, was inherited by this president, by his predecessor, Joe Biden. October 7th was one of the worst days in history. We saw innocent people slaughtered, murdered, kidnapped by Hamas terrorists. This administration has taken extensive time and effort and resources since Inauguration Day in January to end this conflict. We have given many flexible arrangements backed by Israel to Hamas, and unfortunately, Hamas has never agreed. Looking ahead, I will let the president speak on where he sees this going, but this is, of course, an incredibly complex and complicated situation. The administration has made our goal clear. We want to see this conflict end. We want to see the hostages released. And we've tried, the president and his national security team have given extensive effort and time to doing that.
With how Israel has used those resources and the assistance that you've provided?
Look, I'll let the president speak on the further actions that Israel may or may not be taking. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Karoline. Thank you. The Kremlin is expressing interest that Friday's meeting will move beyond just terms to end the war into improving bilateral relations. There's talk over how they're interested in potentially restoring direct flights between Russia and the United States. Is President Trump open to those kind of peripheral conversations, or is this directly focused on ending the war in Ukraine?
I think this conversation on Friday is focused on ending the war in Ukraine as far as the president's perspective goes. Those conversations, I think the president is interested in having, but his main priority right now is ending this war and to stop the killing that has gone on for far too long. You're welcome. In the back. Go ahead.
Yeah, two questions on the economy. So first, we've had small businesses tell us that it's not foreign exporters who are eating the tariffs, it's them. And they've held off on raising prices, but soon they're going to have to raise prices. What is the White House's message to them?
The White House's message to our small business owners across the country is you have never had a better ally or friend or supporter in this White House than President Donald Trump, who is a businessman himself, who understands your concerns and who wants to restore wealth back to our country through the powerful use of tariffs. And that's what he's focused on doing, while simultaneously driving down costs. You have to remember, we are 6 months into this administration, and we had a president who had no business experience, had no idea what he was doing, and who funneled billions of wasteful spending dollars into our economy, which created the worst inflation crisis in a generation. Now this president is focused on tackling inflation, deregulating, cutting costs, cutting red tape to make it easier for small business owners to thrive. And again, the economic indicators show that we are moving in the right direction. In January, when this president showed up to the White House, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate was 3.7%. Today, 6 months later, the 6-month annualized core inflation rate is 2.4%. So we are trending in the right direction. Moving forward, since President Trump took office, for another 6 months, inflation will be tracking at 1.9% at this trajectory. You look at grocery prices, they fell, energy prices fell, fuel oil fell, ship fares fell, propane fell, butter, margarine, eggs, non-prescription drugs. You go through the list of items that are falling. And then I would also point to that report this morning showing that small business optimism has reached a 5-month high. So look, we inherited an economic mess from the previous administration, but this administration is focused on fixing it every day. And part of that is signing the largest tax cuts into law to put more money back into the pockets of these small business owners.
Just on the BLS, they collect the inflation data. Obviously, if the jobs data is not reliable, should Americans trust the inflation data?
Well, look, the jobs data has had massive revisions. We want to ensure that all of the data, the inflation data, the jobs data, any data point that is coming out of the BLS is trustworthy and is accurate, which is why the president has restored new leadership at the BLS. Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Gavin Newsom has said that California is going to sue in response to the government's demand for $1 billion from UCLA over the DOJ's anti-Semitism findings. Newsom has called this extortion and ransom. So I'm wondering what the White House's response is to Newsom on UCLA.
Bring it on, Gavin. This administration is well within its legal right to do this, and we want to ensure that our colleges and our universities are respecting the First Amendment rights and the religious liberties of students on their campuses, and UCLA has failed to do that. And I have a whole list of examples that I will forward to Gavin Newsom's press office if he hasn't seen them himself. Brett.
Thanks, Caroline. What was the reason that President Trump chose to move on from Billy Long as IRS commissioner?
Look, I think the president wants to see Billy Long as the ambassador to Iceland. As you know, that is where he will be headed. And the president loves Billy Long, and he thinks that he can serve the administration well in this position. For now, Secretary Scott Besson will be the acting IRS commissioner.
Timeline for announcing a new pick?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh, Ed, go ahead, but
wait.
then in the back. Yes.
Go in the back first.
Okay, sure.
Thanks, Caroline. One foreign policy and then one domestic question, if I may. There are roughly 30,000 children from Ukraine who have reportedly been abducted and are kind of dispersed around Russia. They've been showing up on these websites for adoption.
Yes, finally, somebody asked the question. Where are they at? Here we go. I've been waiting for this question. I didn't think they would ever
ask. Is their return a red line for the president in any deal ending the war?
The administration is aware of these reports. I don't want to set red lines for the president on his behalf from this podium. However, the president did encourage Ukraine and Russia to speak directly to one another in terms of these humanitarian issues. And we have seen progress. You have seen prisoners of war swapped between these two countries as a result of these direct talks, as well as children. And that remains a concern, but it's one that Russia and Ukraine need to iron out together, which is why this president has encouraged them to speak. Okay,
straight lies. That's all you're gonna say? That's all you're gonna say. I call straight lies. Sorry, dude. If you want to be a humanitarian, you protect the kids. All right, you don't give them more weapons.
And then if I can, the DC action real quick. The president said yesterday that this is a model federalizing the National Guard that could be used to combat really high rates of crime in other cities like Chicago, LA, Baltimore. What sort of authority would he have to deploy forces like that absent the Home Rule Act?
Look, the president is speaking about what he'd like to see take place in other cities around the country. Right now, this administration is focused on making DC safe and beautiful again. When the time comes, we'll talk about that. But I will note that the president wants to see all of our nation's cities be safe. But I think starting with our nation's capital is a great place to begin, and it should serve as a model for the rest of the country. Ed.
Just to bind up a few of the DC things, because a lot of them have been asked, but in talking with Congress about potential changes to home rule and whatever else, would he also push the House to finally pass DC's budget so that it has access to all that money that it does need for policing, for schools, and for other services here in the city?
Yes, and as you know, he has done that. He put out a statement calling on the House to take up the Senate's legislation, and he stands by that position.
Let me take you back to something from last month. You guys announced the president was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency after his legs were seen swelling. How's he being treated for that? And while you were upfront about those health issues, curious if the White House would be willing to let us speak with his physician directly about those health issues. I know there were a lot of concerns about the last White House not making the physician available. Would the physician be available in this case?
I don't want to make that commitment on behalf of the physician, but it's certainly something we can look into and explore out of the effort of transparency, because unlike the previous White House, there is nothing to hide. You guys see this president working around the clock, literally 24/7, all of the time, and I will be happy to look into that request.
Can we at least get an update on how he's being treated for the swelling legs and for the hands and the other issues?
Look, you see the president every day. He's moving, he's working, he's continuing. There have been no adjustments made to his lifestyle.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions, one on DC, but on the Putin meeting on Friday, does the president plan to meet with Putin one-on-one?
Yes, that's part of the plan. And as for the other mechanics and logistics, I will let our team speak to that when they're ironed out.
And on what's happening in DC with the federal takeover, what we've heard from the mayor and the police chief is that
chicken takeover,
there has been no change in the leadership structure. In the White House's view, who is in charge of the MPD right now?
If you read the executive order, it will tell you the leadership structure is as follows. We plan to work with the Metropolitan Police Department, but ultimately the chain of command is as such. The President of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, our DEA Administrator, Terry Cole, who is now serving ahead of the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department. And they will be working together. Nope, Terry Cole, as you heard from this briefing room yesterday, is in charge of the Metropolitan Police Department, and he's working with the chief to ensure that law enforcement officers are allowed to do their jobs in this city.
Caroline?
Joey.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. I know you said earlier the hope is to maintain monthly job reports, but the president's new nominee for BLS, Commissioner E.J. Antoni, recently told Fox Business that the BLS should suspend issuing monthly job reports and only issue quarterly reports until the jobs data methodology is corrected. So does the president disagree with that assessment that his nominee is said there, or suspending these monthly job reports a real option?
I think he floated the idea of possibly suspending until they can get the data and the methodology in order. And this president wants to ensure that the BLS, again, is putting out accurate and honest data that the American people can trust. Since you brought up the new commissioner, he holds a master's and doctor's degree in economics from Northern Illinois University. He's the chief economist in the Heritage Foundation's Center for the Federal Budget. And in addition to his work at Heritage, he has multiple other roles. He's been widely renowned for his work on economic issues. He's been called before Congress to testify as an economic expert. So he's a qualified individual, and the president trusts him to lead this important department. Take a couple more questions. Sure, go ahead.
Given that the administration now has jurisdiction over MPD, can we expect, does that mean like personnel changes, hiring, firing? Can we expect leadership changes internally in the Metropolitan Police
Well,
Department?
I just walked through what the leadership structure looks like right now.
Within the uniformed police department, right? I mean, does that mean that the attorney general, others kind of have the ability to make those personnel decisions?
I would imagine it means they have the ability. As for any changes, I'm not tracking any. Again, we look forward to working alongside the Metropolitan Police Department. And we did that last night successfully, and we hope we could do that for the next 29 nights. Go ahead. Yes.
So in light of reports that ICE agents detained a 15-year-old student with disabilities outside an LA high school, even leaving bullets on the sidewalk, how does the Trump administration plan to ensure parents that their children can return to school without fear of being wrongfully detained or endangered by federal agents?
Where'd you see that report?
LA Times.
Okay, well, I'll have to look into the veracity of that report. I read the LA Times almost every single day, and they are notorious for misleading the public. I'm sure there's more to that story than the way that you just characterized it. This administration wants to ensure that all school children across the country in every city from Los Angeles to DC can go to school safely. And that's part of this administration's effort to federalize the National Guard in Washington, to ensure that ICE is removing child predators. I just read you a list of a handful, just a handful of the hundreds of thousands of child predators that this administration is removing off of the streets of Los Angeles and every other community across this country, because we want to ensure this is a country where American school children can be safe, where they can prosper, and where they are not threatened by violent criminals, whether they are illegal or whether they are American citizen homegrown criminals, as this president calls them. So I will gladly go check on that report, and I'll get you the facts. Thank you,
Caroline.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Caroline.
All right. That was Karoline Leavitt. Now we've got Judge Jeannine.
On either side of me. Yeah, come over here. It's okay. I don't bite. All right. All right, you know who I am, I assume. Today we unsealed an indictment against two individuals, Jimmy Cherizier and a co-conspirator, Basil Richardson. It is a one-count indictment that was unsealed, and the one count has to do with conspiracy to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, also known as IEEPA. IEEPA. Jimmy Cherizier is also known as Barbecue. Do we have his picture here?
Barbecue, bruh.
Yeah. Okay. He is a notorious gang leader from Haiti,
Barbecue,
who has orchestrated and committed various acts of violence against Haitians in Haiti. He was sanctioned in 2020 by the United States government under the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. And that is an act that has to do with the president having the authority to sanction globally anyone who was involved in human rights abuses. Now, Cherizier is also known as Barbecue, and his indictment is the first indictment of an individual.
You guys do remember who Barbecue was. If you guys don't know who Barbecue is, he was the leader in the rebel against the Haitian government about a year ago, which brought a lot of the Haitians here to Ohio. That's how you got their eating the cats and dogs. They flooded Florida, they flooded Alabama and Colorado. This is what she's talking about. And the leader of all that, who I personally believe was working with our government, was working with the alphabet gangs. I'm not going to get myself in trouble. But now they're saying they indicted him or they got him when they could have had him a year ago. So let's see what she says.
In the history of the Department of Justice, who has been sanctioned under the International Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. Now, in terms of background, Barbecue was a police officer in Haiti, but he led many campaigns of violence against Haitians in Haiti.
They call him Barbecue, by the way, because he literally would barbecue his victims.
Including the notorious La Saline attack in 2018. Notorious because he both planned and participated in the killing of approximately 71 Haitians. It is a turf war that has shocked the human rights activists in the world. His co-defendant Basile Richardson grew up in Haiti with Cherizier. He is a naturalized U.S. citizen who is living in North Carolina. He was also indicted under that same one count, and he is indicted for sending money to Cherizier, sending money from the Haitian diaspora in the United States to Cherizier. And knowing that Cherizier was sanctioned under that 2020 Magnitsky Act. Now, apparently he was a trucker who, although he was from North Carolina, was just picked up in Texas. Now, one of the things that is extremely important that you'll be hearing about from my law enforcement partners here is that the State Department has designated a $5 million reward for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of Cherizier. Now, I want to let the public know that anyone who is giving money to Cherizier, also known as Barbecue because of his violent acts in his home country, cannot say, I didn't know that he was sanctioned by the U.S. government. They will be prosecuted, and we will find them because they are supporting an individual who is committing human rights abuses, and we will not look the other way. Now, this office is not unfamiliar with crimes of violence in Haiti. Several months ago, we got a conviction against an individual by the name of Jolie German, who was involved in the kidnapping of 16 American Christian missionaries in Haiti. Haiti is a hotspot right now, and I don't use that as a pun on words, but there's incredible violence going on there, which is why the State Department has gotten involved and why we have made the decision to make it very clear under the Magnitsky Act that we're coming after you if you give money to Cherizier. Now, I'd like now to call upon my partners, Acting Assistant Director of the FBI, Darren Cox.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Darren Cox. I'm the Acting Assistant Director of the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division. I want to thank our partners here with us today and our international partners for their hard work and partnership in combating transnational organized crime, which threatens the safety and security of communities both in the United States and abroad. Under Director Patel's leadership, the FBI is focused more than ever on crushing violent crime, cartels, and gang activity every single day. Since January, the FBI, with the help of our law enforcement partners and community members, have arrested 3 top 10 fugitives. We've arrested over 19,000 criminals, and we've seized thousands of tons of narcotics, which have saved millions of lives across the United States. The American public and criminals should know our agents and our partners are using every tool available to put criminals behind bars and keep America safe, and we will not stop. We stand shoulder to shoulder with the men and women of law enforcement, backing good cops without hesitation. They're taking the fight directly to the criminals, and they're restoring order. These efforts are a deliberate and coordinated plan to protect our communities and confront escalating threats from foreign terrorist organizations like Viva Unsoon and its associates. Tackling these networks means addressing every link in the chain, every cell, especially in the United States. As you've heard in today's announcement, that includes a $5 million reward for key members of Viva Unsoon and Jimmy Shazier, also known as Barbecue. We know someone has information that can help end this violence, and we want them to come forward and know that they are safe in doing so. Today, I want to highlight the amazing work the FBI and our law enforcement partners do every day to disrupt and dismantle violent criminal networks, just like that of Barbecue and his cronies. Our FBI Miami office has worked closely with our international partners to track down Shazier and his Viva Unsoon partners and associates in the United States. On July 23rd, one of Shazier's most trusted associates and a named co-conspirator was taken into custody. Brazier Richardson was investigated by Miami, and he was arrested by our FBI Houston office without incident. Violent actors like Shazier and the rest of his criminal associates must understand there is no safe haven for them and the people like them that traffic violence in our communities. The FBI and our partners will continue to leverage all of the resources available and the expertise that we have to bring these people to justice. We urge anybody with information related to Shazier or any of his criminal network to contact the FBI through our tips line or our local field office. You can also call 1-800-FBI, and you can go online to fbi.gov/tips. Together, we will stop this violence. Thank you.
All right, and now Assistant Director of HSI, Ivan Arvello.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Ivan Arvello, Assistant Director for Homeland Security Investigations. The unsealing of this indictment marks the culmination of a nearly 3-year investigation into Jimmy Shazier's illicit activities and involve identifying Shazier's firearm procurement and trafficking networks, fundraising operations, and the movement and misuse of U.S. dollars in violation of U.S. sanctions. These actions fuel gang and terrorist operations that have oppressed and devastated the Haitian people. Shazier's shift from Haitian law enforcement to violent gang leader was marked by his alleged involvement in the 2018 Gasoline massacre. This horrific event resulted in 71 murders and the destruction of 400 homes as civilians residents of La Saline neighborhood in Port-au-Prince were caught in the middle of a gang battlefield with chaos and destruction. Over the years, international organizations have linked Shazier.
This is where he burned them all. This is where he burned them all. Why don't you just say it, bro? He called it the gasoline, whatever. Bro, he burned them all.
To several additional instances of human rights abuses. Today marks a significant step in bringing his reign of terror to an end. It's a principal investigative component of DHS, responsible for investigating disrupting, and dismantling transnational criminal organizations and terrorist groups who are seeking to exploit the customs and immigration laws of the United States. HSI worked with our federal partners to identify Shazir's various methods and networks, using U.S. assets and financial institutions to fund this gang, procure weapons of war, and extend its power. This type of investigation falls under HSI's counterproliferation and export enforcement mission to detect, disrupt, and dismantle illicit procurement networks operating on behalf of foreign adversaries, terrorist groups, and transnational criminal organizations. These criminal groups utilize complex strategies to acquire American weapon systems, sensitive technology, financial assets, and other resources to commit crimes across the globe, endangering Americans both domestically and abroad. This case has been a great example of federal law enforcement agencies working together to leverage each other's strengths and unique authorities in furtherance of a common goal, promoting national security and pursuing a barbaric warlord who used our nation's resources to commit acts of violence and terror. I'd like to extend my most heartfelt thanks to our federal law enforcement partners at the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, the Department of State, the U.S. Attorney's Office for Washington, D.C., and the Department of Justice National Security Division for the invaluable partnership and relentless efforts in making this indictment happen. Thank you. Good afternoon.
And finally, Chris Landberg, State Department Senior Bureau Official.
Good afternoon. Thank you, U.S. Attorney Pirro, for hosting us. Thanks to our law enforcement partners. Again, I'm Chris Landberg. I'm the Senior Bureau Official of the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs at the State Department. We're known as INL. Today, the Department of State, along with our federal law enforcement partners, is taking action to protect our nation, to protect the American people, and protect the hemisphere from foreign terrorist organizations, or FTOs. The Department of State is announcing a reward offer of up to $5 million for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of Haitian gang leader Jimmy Cherizier, also known as my colleagues have said, by the name Barbecue. And there's a poster right here related to this reward offer. We're offering this reward for Cherizier under the Transnational Organized Crime Rewards Program because he is the leader of Vive Ensemble, which was designated by Secretary of State Rubio as an FTO and specially designated global terrorist organization in May of this year. As Secretary Rubio declared in his designation announcement, the age of impunity for those supporting violence in Haiti is over. We seek the public's help in bringing Cherizier to justice for not only the people of Haiti, but also to prevent the spread of Vive Ensemble's unchecked violence throughout the hemisphere, including affecting the United States. His reign of terror and mass violence against Haiti must end. The instability resulting from his actions has the potential to drive illegal immigration to our borders and increase transnational crime. The State Department will continue to apply its tools, including rewards programs, to combat the scourge of transnational organized crime and associated violence, and especially to stop the worst of the worst criminal ringleaders threatening the people of our hemisphere. So I'm going to repeat the information mentioned by my colleagues. If you have information, please contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or HSI at 1-866-DHS-2-ICE. Help us find and convict this menace to the hemisphere, Jimmy Cherizier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Yes. Given the violent crime in DC that is being cracked down on with this.
Okay, I'm happy to talk about violent crime in DC, and I'm going to. I have some posters to show you, but anything on Cherizier. Yeah.
So the U.S. government, in a collaborative fashion, is supporting both the Haitian National Police and the multinational security support mission to help stabilize Haiti and create the conditions conducive for the holding democratic elections in the country. That is what we are doing. We are doing this mainly through foreign assistance and through technical assistance from our law enforcement partners. That is the strategy of the U.S. government right now. So the point of the rewards offer is to to get information about these individuals. And then we are working very closely with Haitian National Police. So that is one of the mechanisms. If we can get information, the individuals can get up to $5 million. Our U.S. law enforcement colleagues will work with Haitian National Police and will arrest this individual and incarcerate him.
I noticed in the indictment, denaturalized people. Is that something on the table that we're looking to do once he goes through the judicial process?
Well, I think it's a little too early now to really comment on that. I think right now our goal is to get a conviction here, and then we'll make a decision as to what's appropriate. There's a lot of steps before you even get to that. Anything else on Cherizier?
Do you plan to indict other Haitian gang leaders? Is this just the beginning? And do you have any sense of where he might be?
If we knew where he was, I wouldn't tell you. I'd go over there myself. No. Right. That was a joke. We certainly have some information, but
it wasn't
whatever
a joke.
Information we can get
That
from
wasn't
the public.
a joke. I can tell
We don't have him in our custody.
Okay,
that's all I can say right now. Do you want to add anything to that, guys? Okay. All right. Greg, anything? All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely illegal.
Wait, don't take the posters just yet. Can we get some pictures? Thank you.
They're not gonna get him, bro. No way.
Put this up. Thanks. Thank you very much. All right. Are you done?
There's no way that they couldn't get that guy if they didn't want to. They can get anybody they want. They pick and choose who they want to get.
There's been a great deal of discussion.
Can we get you the mic?
You want me at the mic?
If you could hold
See the connection between.
There's been a great deal of discussion about crime in the district. And the other day, I wanted to get a sense of what is actually happening in the District of Columbia. I asked for the number of teens who have been shot and killed by gunfire. Teens, everyone under the age of 20. As you can see, in 2024, we have, I believe I said it was, how many? Yeah. As you can see in 2024, we have 29 individuals who were shot and killed in the district, all teens, some as young as 3 years of age, okay, because of gunfire. Some of these cases are solved, some of them are not solved. But what this makes clear to me is that there is a whole community that is suffering because of the violent crime in this district. And anyone who wants to tell me the crime is down and that we don't need an emergency focus on crimes of violence, all they need to do is take a look at this and talk to the loved ones and the family members of these individuals, all shot and killed long before their time. Now, over here are the individuals who were shot and killed under the age of 20, all teenagers in 2025. And the number here is 16. Again, all members of the minority community here. I don't know how many of these cases have been solved, but what I can tell you is, again, it's guns on the streets. It's individuals who are not concerned about accountability, who don't have any reason to fear law enforcement. I am here today to tell you that on behalf of all of these victims, all of these families, that they're going to be accountable, that we are going to make a difference, and that we are going to make sure that law enforcement is focused on these innocent, now silent victims of crime in the district. Anywhere else? All I know is we rank in deaths. 2 years ago, we were one of the fourth highest. We were the fourth highest in the United States. I don't need any more statistics. All I need are people to recognize that these were vibrant.
Okay, how can DC be the fourth highest in the United States when they're like one of the smallest districts in the whole entire country? That's crazy.
Human beings cut down because of illegal guns. I guarantee you that every one of these shootings was with an illegal gun. All right. And I guarantee you that every one of these individuals was shot and killed by someone who felt that they were never going to be caught. And I want to send a message that we are going to catch you, that we are going to change the laws, that if you're 14, 15, 16, 17, we're going to bring you into the justice system. No more of this DC, council. Oh, if they're under 16 or if they're under 19 or if they're under 25, we'll give them probation. No more. I'm done with that.
Address those laws, address the DC crime lab, which is not accredited, and also at the same time address some of the prosecutorial issues you talked about?
Those are great questions. Number one, the DC crime lab is now accredited and validated very recently. So Dr. Diaz has communicated that to us, and we are working with the DC crime lab. Our concern is making sure that we have enough people who are able to analyze the DNA and all of the testing that we need to have done. That's number one. Number two, as it relates to prosecution, I have been very clear that Title 16 is not enough. Under Title 16, if you are 16 or 17 years of age, we can get you for rape 1, murder, robbery 1, burglary 1. But if you shoot someone and don't kill them, I don't have jurisdiction. It goes to the Attorney General, the State Attorney General, Brian Schwab, and the focus is family court rehabilitation. Now, I was a family court judge in New York for a short period of time. The mission there is not punishment, it's rehabilitation, as evidenced by, do we have those posters? Yeah, we had a poster with what you get is yoga and you get ice cream socials in family court. Well, I'm done with yoga and ice cream socials. We've got to change the law to bring them into the justice system. We've got to get rid of the 3 statutes or 3 laws passed by the DC Council. Number one is the Youth Rehabilitation Act, where you basically say with the Youth Rehabilitation Act that what we're going to do is we're going to say, if you're sentenced and you're under the age of 25, that the judge can give you probation irrespective of what the crime is. That's nonsense. And that's why a judge, and you're tired of hearing about me say this, that's why a judge gave a 19-year-old 2-3 weeks ago, and I wrote an op-ed piece, gave a 19-year-old probation, and I understand it's 2 years probation to go to college with no mandate, for getting on a public bus with an illegal gun, shooting an individual in the chest, which to me is intent to kill. And he walked away after we convicted him. He walked away with no jail time. If that's what you want in this district, then I'm the wrong person to be United States attorney. Number one, the Incarceration Reduction Act. The Incarceration Reduction Act that the DC left-leaning council passed says if you're 25 years old and you were sentenced to 15 years as a young kid for probably murder, even a serial murderer, we can let you out if you're 25. We can let you out because, not because you're rehabilitated, not because the offense wasn't that bad, but because we can. And that's got to go. All right. And the third thing is record sealing. I go through all of the effort to get a conviction, and they want to seal the convictions. They want to say, we want to seal convictions after 5 years. If I'm a mother, and thank God my kids are older. If I'm a mother, I want to know if a nanny has an assault conviction. If I'm an employer, I want to know if this person has been convicted of larceny or petty larceny. Or if, say, I'm not in a public school, but I got a private, like, teaching a tennis group. I need to know if this guy's a predator, a pedophile. Everything about the D.C. Council's focus is defendant-oriented. I'm oriented to these people, and the people of the district are as well.
You just walked through the.
I don't have any special powers. I wish I did. I am. I am. You know, I'm not going to bore you with the facts. Don't quote me on that. That was off the record. I can only hire during certain periods once there's been an ad or some kind of posting, and then I can hire. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing the best I can. The president has given me the permission to hire. This is an office that has been neglected. And I'll say it publicly. It's been neglected. With people signing contracts, they didn't know what they were signing. All right, it just kind of ran on its own. Not anymore. This is an office where nobody seemed to care that we were down 90 lawyers, 60 investigators, and paralegals. I do. And so my effort is to get people who want to work in the nation's capital, who want to work in the largest United States attorney's office in the country, and the best office, because we're not just federal prosecutors, we're local prosecutors. We get down and dirty in street crime. And that is what really motivates a lot of my prosecutors.
You just walked through the changes you'd like to see from the punitive aspects. What about preventative? Do you or the president plan to do anything to address the root causes of crime in DC, such as truancy?
My job is to try to heal the victims and prosecute the criminal. Everybody else can deal with rehabilitating the individual. I honestly am not concerned about why they commit crimes. My concern is if they commit crimes. My concern is the victims of the crimes. That's my job as a U.S. attorney. Go ahead.
But just follow up on that quickly.
Is a felony one. And right
Yeah.
now, DC Superior Court judges are scheduling felony one trials in 2027, in part because there are 13 vacancies right now that's going to grow in January. The president has only nominated one DC Superior Court judge. It's a process that takes a while. It's a process because of DC's rules. Are you going to talk to the president about
Yeah.
this? Is the White House moving forward with
Yes.
more nominees? You're going to need these judges.
Yep. As recently as yesterday, I spoke with the president, and I have spoken to the president before about these vacancies. The president wants these vacancies filled as soon as possible because, like everyone in this room, it's common sense. It's not fair to the victims, to the families. It's not fair to the defendant. Why should the defendant who's charged with a crime have to live with a case for 3 years because there's not enough judges? We're all on the same page about what makes sense and what's fair. And so we're working on that. There's a whole thing with the Judicial Nominating Commission, and then they have to get approved, and then we have to get the Senate to approve. You know, you can ask the Senate.
No, the names from the president. He has to know. When can we expect names?
Soon, very soon. Soon. Okay, you're out of time? That means he's had enough. Goodbye. Thank you. I want you to report on
But
this.
you said it's guns.
important.
You said it's guns on the street that's causing this problem. Are you concerned that the DOJ's funding cuts to gun violence prevention programs undermine the effort?
Stop it. We are putting all kinds of resources onto the street.
But what about the gun aspect of the gun violence?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Tell them.
It's never enough. This changed. It's never enough. You tell these families crime has dropped. You tell the mother of the intern who was shot going out from McDonald's near the Washington Convention Center, crime is down. You tell the kid who was just beat the hell and back with a severe concussion and a broken nose, crime is down. No, that falls on deaf ears. And my ears are deaf to that. and that's why I fight the fight. Thank you.
Alright. Well, that was that. Now let's go ahead and just hit some news for the day. I don't know if there's any other speeches, so I'm just gonna go ahead and hit the news for the day, and then I'll probably call it a freaking day. Hold on, let me do something real fast. Boom, boom, boom. All right, guys, let's do this. Boom, boom.
The family shared with us photos of Honesty Cheadle. She was just 3 years old, shot in the head, according to her family. It was a stray bullet fired from somebody down the street while Honesty was in her father's car.
Mike Gill has died after being shot during a deadly carjacking spree in the district. Gill was a member of former President Donald Trump's administration. Police say the suspect later went on to shoot and kill another man that night before being shot by police in Lanham.
19-year-old former Doge official was violently beaten during what police say was an attempted unarmed carjacking in Northwest.
Fights broke out. Someone fired gunshots. This is supposed to be one of the nicer areas in the district.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. Well, those are just a few examples of the types of crimes that we've been seeing here in the nation's capital recently. And no, after the fact juvenile curfew zones that police have intermittently established, they're not the answer. We need real consequences for real criminals to send a real message. Now, you're going to hear from Democrats that crime is down, but here's the kicker. D.C. officials have apparently been manipulating the numbers, I've heard of that, to make it look like the situation is really improving. NBC4 in Washington reported that a high-ranking D.C. police commander, Michael Pulliam, was placed on administrative leave after being accused of helping fudge the department's crime stats. Now, according to the police union, officials inside the MPD deliberately altered the data to make it appear that crime had gone down when the truth was anything but. Now, our capital city, and I've lived in D.C., I lived in D.C. for about 30 years. This should be a showplace. It should be a shining example of beauty and law and order. But instead, it has become a showcase for violence, chaos, and homelessness. We have youth gangs roaming in mobs. We have armed robbers barely old enough to drive. Brutal beatings in broad daylight. And while families live in fear, the city's so-called leaders apply Band-Aids. Now, after years of rising crime, police handcuffed by political activists and public safety, sacrificed on the altar of so-called reform, the president, he's finally said enough is enough.
Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people, and we're not going to let it happen anymore. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control.
Well, it isn't a power grab, which is what some people are saying. It's the law. Congress wrote it. Courts have upheld it. And in a city that's constitutionally under federal jurisdiction, the president has the full authority to call up the National Guard and take control of the D.C. police force to what? To suppress domestic violence, unlawful combination, or insurrection. Now, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser should welcome the federal help, but she tried to play it both sides today.
The fact that we have more law enforcement and presence in neighborhoods, that could not, that may be positive if people are, if it's a positive action. So that's what the executive order says. And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Okay, she knows that that's silly. She should just save everyone time and become a Republican. Now, the sad truth is, although certain crimes have declined from near all-time highs, that's meaningless when the overall violent crime rate in D.C. is worse than some of the most dangerous cities in the world. And here in the United States, according to the most recent data, D.C. ranks #1 in the country for homicides. Now things really began to spiral, as we might remember, post-George Floyd in the summer of love. That's when the D.C. Council passed the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Amendment Act, banning certain control techniques, sharply restricting use of force, and piling on procedural hurdles for officers. Police at the time warned that that was going to make it difficult for police and nearly impossible in certain circumstances. And boy, were they right. Since these reforms took effect, carjackings have surged, homicides have climbed, and juvenile offenders have learned that consequences are few and far between.
It's hard to put it all together to just understand like how someone can take his life.
There's no ramifications for these kids or young adults, whatever, for what they do. The council isn't handling this. How much crime isn't being reported? I don't know.
Too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. But they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun.
Of course, the judge is 100% correct. Trump's had enough. He wants to see results. Safety and security and clean streets in D.C. But progressive leaders, liberal policies, they're to blame here, which is why left-wing pundits and activists rush in to condemn these efforts.
He's actually trying to give his base red meat to get them off of the Epstein story, and it's on the backs of citizens in Washington, D.C.
It's our home. You can have it from.
Well, no, he's not. He's not taking it. Trump is restoring it, saving it. And those folks most affected by high crime, they're going to go start feeling, again, safe.
At your direction this morning, we've mobilized the D.C. National Guard. It'll be operationalized by the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, through the D.C. Guard. You will see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week. At your direction as well, sir, there are other units we are prepared to bring in. Other National Guard units, other specialized units. They will be strong, they will be tough, and they will stand with their law enforcement partners.
Yeah, National Guard troops, federal marshals, D.C. police. Ultimately, we hope they'll all be working together in the coming days and weeks and months if necessary. They'll dismantle homeless encampments, shut down open-air drug markets, and finally bring consequences to the criminals who've been laughing at the law. Now, in the end, this really is not about Republicans versus Democrats. It shouldn't be. It's about restoring dignity to our capital city, so parents can let their kids play outside without fear, so tourists right near us can walk the National Mall without watching their backs, and so our monuments are places of pride, not crime scenes. This capital belongs to all Americans, and starting now, we're taking it back, and that's the angle.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, Democrats, they are unhinged. Take a look.
You may say to yourself, well, those aren't the rules. There are no refs in this game. The rules. We are going to win whatever it takes.
Oh, after rules. Now, more utterly insane, and there's a ton of it, cringeworthy, manufactured, feigned, phony outrage from Beto Bozo O'Rourke and others as Texas Democrats continue to throw their little temper tantrum, trying to stall redistricting. Also, Marxist Mamdani brought to tears by Elizabeth Warren. Very touching. Take a look.
No, Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg gets to buy another island.
I was trying to hold in a cough and I started crying.
Oh, I thought you were just being I feel the same. I bring this out in people. I really do.
Got some water.
That's what we need, a crybaby mayor in New York City. And coming up, why is Marxist Mamdani in a cheap $2,300. Understand, in New York, $2,300 is nothing. It's a New York apartment, rent stabilized. That is designed for working class people and poor people. We will preview New York City's dark future with this aspiring rapper turned Marxist hero at the helm. And like many communists, ultra wealthy Zoran Mamdani is living the good life while taking resources away from people that really need it. We'll explain. But we begin in a different city tonight. That is our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. We will give you news and information, I promise, you'll never get from the state-run legacy media mob. The U.S. has long been the greatest country on earth, the greatest, best country. I always say God gave man. But sadly, that is not reflected on the streets of our capital city. Murder, assault, sexual assault, armed robbery, carjackings, the chaos, the carnage is nonstop, never ending. As of today, that is about to change. President Trump is now invoking what is Section 740 of the D.C. Home Rule Act that enables the president to federalize law enforcement in D.C. if there are, quote, special conditions of an emergency nature. The administration is now taking command of the city's police force, deploying the National Guard to restore safety and security for all its residents after conditions have totally deteriorated in our capital city. Think about this. If Washington, D.C. were a state, it would be home to the highest murder rate in the entire country. Great job, Muriel Bowser. In fact, few places on earth are as violent as our capitalist city. Even Chicago, Compton, and L.A. have a lower murder rate. In 2024, murder in D.C. was worse than almost every other capital city in the entire world. Look at this. It's insane. It was nearly twice as bad as Bogota, Colombia, 3 times worse than Mexico City, Islamabad, and more than 25 times worse than London per 100,000 people. And that's not all. Take a look at your screen. In 2023, Washington, D.C.'s homicide rate was 10 times worse than Havana and Cuba, significantly higher than several major cities in Africa and South Africa. Baghdad is even safer than our nation's capital. And it's not just murder. Carjackings up 547% in just 5 years. Also, thousands of assaults, burglaries, robberies, you name it, it's happening. One local reporter posted this image on X. It is a car with a handwritten sign that says, quote, "There is nothing of value in this car. Only restaurant supplies and broken dreams. Please don't break the windows for the 5th time." All told, in 2024, there were nearly 30,000 crimes committed that we know about. And many of the most heinous offenses are committed by teens under 18. Take a look.
I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. The president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you.
All right, the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Judge Jeannine Pirro, will be with us in a moment. Now, clearly, there is a major crisis in our nation's capital. Even our friend, Democrat Harold Ford, is praising President Trump for taking action, but instead of working with the administration to restore law and order, safety, security, most of the Democrats, they are seething with rage. What, they don't care about the innocent victims? Again, not once did they care about the people that were murdered and raped and victims of violent crime because of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mayorkas's wide open borders, unvetted illegals in our country. But according to D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, Trump's commitment to reducing crime is, you guessed it, a threat to democracy. Only thing missing is a Hitler comparison. Take a look.
My message to residents is this. We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia. And while this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
Meanwhile, on the city streets, Washington's far-left residents protested Trump's crime crackdown the only way they know how. They were singing songs. It was beautiful for the moment. Take a look.
D.C. is our home. You can have it, Trump. D.C. is our home. You can have it, Trump. It's our home, so it's our home. Get on out.
I can't take the singing. Stop the singing. Unfortunately, it gets worse. It's no surprise, but the media mob, they are completely outraged that President Trump will actually protect people's lives, restore law and order, and would use the federal government to do so in our nation's capital. They are outraged as per usual every minute, every second of every day. Take a look.
You really did hear the president paint quite a dystopian picture of Washington, D.C., saying that it was overtaken by violent gangs, by bloodthirsty criminals, using this imagery that doesn't necessarily comport with a lot of people's experience in this city.
I'm trying to hold my temper. I think there's an ongoing argument that he's having in his head with Black Lives Matter. There's an ongoing argument that he's having with the questions around criminal justice reform and police reform. He's going to undermine the democratic process in the district.
He has always felt that American cities, especially those with large Black populations like Washington, D.C., are crime-ridden and run by incompetent leadership.
Talking about juveniles, like people are one beat away from saying super predators. Yeah. It feels familiar.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does.
Perfectly content to allow the murder and the rape and other violent crime to continue at record rates, alarming rates, higher than any other capital in even the most violent countries. Why? Because it's President Donald J. Trump, that president that is committed to restoring safety and law and order and protecting lives. We have nearly 3 times the homicide rate compared to almost any other capital in the world. Democrats, their answer is to be mad at the guy that's going to protect people, not mad at the people that are actually involved in the crime. More defund, dismantle, no bail law, insanity.
Okay. Are you clapping for me, or is it because it's the birthday of my body double, Chris Hemsworth? Happy Monday, everyone. Bernie Sanders claimed that Kamala Harris was heavily influenced by wealthy people. So who were these wealthy people that influenced her? Well, there was Captain Morgan, Sam Adams, Paul Masson, Robert Mondavi, and of course, Bloody Mary. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker called the Texas Democrats who fled to avoid a vote on redistricting heroes, prompting the Dems to go into hiding, fearing Pritzker might eat them. Little play on words there. According to a new study, aging skin is rejuvenated by young blood and bone marrow, which explains why the interns of a certain congresswoman keep going missing. Look at that face, huh? President Trump said the homeless population in D.C. must move out immediately. He promised to be careful, though, because some people only look homeless. Podcaster Jennifer Welch suggested Trump voters should be banned from Mexican, Chinese, and Indian restaurants, as well as gay hairdressers and NBA games. Meanwhile, everybody agrees her face should be banned from places with good lighting. 2 blind passengers were left behind on a Southwest flight. Well, whose fault is that? Is it the airline or the blind person who says, I know, I'll travel with another blind person? Meantime, the airline offered each woman a $100 travel voucher, or at least that's what they told him it was.
Pretty good.
Finally, Kathy Griffin confirmed that she underwent a third facelift. This just in, it didn't work. You know, I can't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. Oh no, that's just her navel. All right, get to the news. So last week I was a guest on the Tonight Show. Yeah, thank you. And like Rosie O'Donnell on a trampoline, it was a ton of fun. But the media reacted just as you'd expect with fake articles about backlash. BuzzFeed gathered random posts from X to prove Fallon was taking flack for having me on. But that's journalism these days. Fake posts are news when you can find an opinion on anything you want there. BuzzFeed used to have influence. Now it's simply three old guys waiting for their house cats to eat them. One post says that Jimmy was normalizing the right's worst, like I was Hitler, or worse, Liz Cheney. The Daily Beast called my appearance a softball chat, and that Jimmy fawned all over me. And here I thought the Daily Beast was what Joy Behar ordered every morning from the pig farm. New York Mag's Vulture accused Jimmy of kissing the conservative ring. Hell, I wasn't even wearing a ring, at least not on my finger. But this is all because Jimmy talked to me, which is what decent people do. Hell, I have everyone on my show, Republicans, Democrats, comedians, and even guys who call themselves comedians.
Wow.
But late night shows fawn over hundreds of liberal guests. Yet having one right-leaning guest on sends them into a frenzy. But are people really turning on Fallon for having me on the show? Yes. In fact, people did turn on Fallon. The Tonight Show's ratings jumped by double-digit percentage when I was on. With 60 to 80% increases in numerous categories. True, I'm better for ratings than Sydney Sweeney in a blue jean thong.
Not that good.
Yeah. Tonight Show had the highest number since November 2024, which had the NFL as a lead-in. Maybe Kimmel and Colbert should get a lead-in from the WNBA. So after you see the dildos on the court, you'll see them sitting behind the desk.
Ooh.
Yes. But it's got to hurt the haters. Instead of being outraged, though, maybe they should learn something. You don't have to villainize someone because they might talk to someone you don't like. I mean, maybe that's why people don't want to be around Democrats. It's why comedians and podcasts on the right do so well, yet these dirtbags can only talk to themselves. See, this isn't really about Fallon. It's about the media entertainment complex and its realization that it no longer matters. They're like those kids in high school who are no longer at the cool table. They just assumed they would always be the in crowd, so they bullied and bullied until the crowd left them behind. They thought they were destined to be prom king, but now they're as popular as the nerd who gets stuffed into lockers. It's why they lash out. They become resentful after losing the attention they thought they deserved and assumed that they would always have. You know, they're like a hot chick who got old and no longer gets the love she once did. But enough about Selena Gomez. Yeah. And just like all bullies, they blame everybody but themselves. But the fact is, their world has flipped. They still believe that the progressive woke perspective is the default one and that I'm the anomaly. Nope, it's the reverse. And the proof is in the ratings. You've lost cachet everywhere. Colbert is gone. Their biggest late night ally is spinning signs in front of a Pizza Hut. While the king of media, Howard Stern, has turned into an old queen. Once lauded, today's Dems are the butt of jokes. The only time they're on TV these days is for comedic value. Liz Warren, Jasmine Crockett, Eric Swalwell. They give this show more than enough material. I should send them fruit baskets. But the last thing these gas bags need is more fiber in their diet. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He looks like the valet who tells you that the dent was already there. Comedian Jeff Dye. He was born in Ukraine and drives midwits insane. Author of Not Sick of Winning, Michael Mallett. Her baby only cries when he's hungry, sleepy, or watching Fox and Friends. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor, Kat Tiff. And his idea of a protein shake is throwing a cow into a wood chipper. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA World Champion. Tyrus, let's just get this over with, because you weren't here Friday.
No,
so
I was sick. No, I was. First of all, I was extremely proud of you because what you did that night, especially for us three, is the biggest insult they've had to our success is pretending like we don't exist. And what Greg did that night is he forced acknowledgement. They have to recognize the elephant in the room, and it's not just me. But they had to acknowledge it. And then what else? What did he do? He came there with a white flag. He didn't go there to embarrass him. He didn't say, "Hey, hold on, let me check my show. I'm not there, and we're still beating you in the ratings. OMG!" Yeah. He didn't do any of that. He told a fun story. He did a classic, awesome Johnny Carson Tonight Show moment. He told a funny life story between the two of them. He plugged his show, and he left. There was nothing wrong with it, and it showed that people can come together from different sides because that conversation happens more in this country than the other one. Oh, I don't like you, man bun. I hate the fact you drive a truck. That stuff doesn't happen. Yeah. That's what happened. But for me, the part, and I watched it from my hotel room, sick, and I had one of the biggest laughs that I have had in a long time. For no other reason is because no one else ever notices but me. But Greg has a move when he gets locked in and excited. Do we have the clip? Okay, play the clip. Watch Greg's feet.
Dude.
It was actually.
Dude, there was the bar. There was no bar. It was a cooler.
All right, instant replay. One more time. But I was very proud of what you did. You told a fun story. And the fact that you had 25 people on X who complained about it. There was 1 million more people watching The Tonight Show. Don't do it anymore.
What do you say, Jeff? You're a comedian. Are you surprised that the remaining media had to make this into some kind of negative thing?
I didn't know that it was even backlash about it, but I thought it was fantastic. Like, one, you were great on there. He was great and charming.
Oh, yeah.
Fun. Seriously, you did great. But also, it's like, that's what we should be doing.
Yes.
Like, we should be having people having these conversations because everyone always thinks they're in the middle. Everyone believes they're the middle. My most extreme right friends, my most extreme left friends are like, I'm actually pretty reasonable. We believe we're here. So why aren't we having the conversations to prove that we're here? And that's what had to happen is like, you're a human being, despite what people tweet about you.
Yeah.
And so is Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon's a good guy. I bet if you were at Jimmy Kimmel's house, you'd like him. We need to start having those conversations and being like, we're people in the same country and we should be talking about these things.
If I was in Jimmy Kimmel's house, I would poop in the living room. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well,
that's a disorder that I have. It's not because of him.
I just feel like we're villainizing both, and we there's a lot to be worked out that we could do, and you did it great on the Tonight Show.
It's true. Thank you so much. You know, Michael, do you think that I should have talked about politics? Do you think we should have talked about politics at all?
Oh, no, not at all. I think you played it very smartly because the whole idea is people who are right of center are basically subhuman and should never be discussed. So when you show up and it's a normal munchkin, it's like, okay, how am I going to be how am I going to be threatened by this person? And I'll point something else out. This was a small window. In 92, it was a big deal that Bill Clinton went on Arsenio Hall. And then for a few decades, people from both parties would be on all the shows and no one thought anything of it. Then in 2015, HuffPo tried to put Trump in the entertainment section because they said, we're not going to validate this guy. Well, you know what? We don't need your validation. He became president.
Yeah.
So their attempts to build these moats about what you can watch and what you can't, like on The View, the person furthest to the right still hates Trump. It's this complete synthetic reality that's very hard to maintain when people have an internet. So they're scared because for them, you're basically an infection.
Yes.
Like they're trying to sterilize their space and now you're in there and they don't know where to go.
I love that calling me an infection is a compliment.
And a monster.
Yeah.
And a fact.
Yeah.
And a diagnosis.
Kat, am I an infection?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
At least the bacteria.
Yeah.
I'm a virus. What do you think about, you know what sucks is I'm a hypocrite with these stories. I think they're worthless, the stories where they just find 3 tweets.
Right.
But I still will cite them because then I get a story out of it.
Because then you had a monologue topic. It was the weekend, and you know what it was going to be, and you're like, all right, cool, 5 tweets, enough for me.
Yeah.
But it's also the people who tweet this. Most people aren't going to tweet at all. Like, most people who see something, they're like, oh, I didn't love that, and then they just move on with their lives. The people who actually went so far as to be like, that's it, Jim, I'm never watching again. This show is too important to you. You absolutely are watching again. It is obviously not working, right? It's not working to not engage with people who are not, like you said, even being like, oh, I'm a conservative, but I still hate Trump. Somebody who actually supports Trump, which is a lot of Americans, and not having these people talk to you doesn't mean that these people don't exist. There's a lot more people outside of the bubble. So I thought the fact that you didn't talk about politics at all, too, like I said on Friday, when apparently now you need me to tell you that you did a good job for the 3rd time. So good job, Greg. He did such a great job. Greg did such a great job, right?
Hey, let him have it.
I mean, yeah, let him have it. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't like he was dropping stuff we never heard before. He was just normal in a time when they present the right as abnormal. He was just a regular guy.
Just a guy hanging out, and I'm sure that they probably expected, because some of these people who have this opinion probably don't know that they've never met a Trump supporter in real life. They absolutely have. Everyone has. But the people who are were like, oh, I better not tell that person.
They were in the audience. I mean, they were in the hallways. All the security, you know.
Did you get a lot of like, hey, like?
Yes.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
From a Jonas brother, and I won't say which one.
Oh. Yeah.
We pinky swore in the hotel hot tub.
I will.
No, Joe's like that. Joe's like that.
It's not Joe.
I do think, I'll say this again, I think it was a very positive thing for the culture.
Yes, very positive. Culture, infection.
Positive.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in one of those late night medical commercials. Okay, up next, Jimmy Kimmel's BS.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to.
All right, I'll put this Trump declaration up, and then I probably will call after this.
I think we need a ballroom, and that's happening. It's going to be a beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly, like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. Just like we did on our southern border. Nobody comes through our southern border anymore. 3 months in a row, we had zero. I don't know if that's right, but the people that do the work, it's a very liberal group of people, actually, and they actually said zero for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And, when you say take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is, okay, the red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these. Baghdad we doubled up on Baghdad.
Damn.
Panama City, Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs. Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru, all double and triple what they are. So do you want to live in places like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. DC, 41 per 100,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. Is that where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And we had a recent indication. There was a story about a man who was just left. He quit because he was asked to do phony numbers on crime. And we're going to look into that. I think Pam is going to be looking into that. But he was asked by the city, I guess, that we don't want to show the real numbers. Let me do numbers so it looks like it's going down. Not going down. And under Biden, it was a disaster. And nobody did anything about it. We're going to do things about it like you wouldn't believe. Every American has a constitutional right to be able to access and petition their government in safety, and countless federal officials and employees likewise have the right to carry out their jobs in peace without being shot. As you know, I lost a very good person a while ago, was shot waiting for his wife. He was in the car. They robbed his car. They shot him. They killed him like it was nothing to it. She was walking to the car. It's a horror show. This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America. Really, it's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with DC, and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. Days ago, a former member of the DOJ staff was savagely beaten by a band of roving thugs after defending a young woman from an attempted carjacking. He was left dripping in blood. He thought he was dead, with a broken nose and concussion. Can't believe that he's alive. He can't believe it. In June, a 21-year-old congressional intern was tragically killed after being hit by a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting. A former Trump administration official named Mike Gill, fantastic person, was murdered last year in cold blood in a carjacking blocks away from the White House. We all knew him. Great person. Waiting for his wife as she was walking to the car. A Democrat congressman was also carjacked at gunpoint not far from the Capitol. And in 2023, an aide to Senator Rand Paul was stabbed in the chest and head by a demented lunatic as he walked down the street, just absolutely for no reason. Horrifically, last July 4th weekend, a 3-year-old girl was shot in the head and killed while sitting in a car near the Capitol. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live. Caravans of mass youth rampage through city streets at all times of the day. They're in ATVs, motorbikes. They travel pretty well. Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that, the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against law. See, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit. And they get hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any such. So and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was the one thing that's central, no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. And we're going to end that in Chicago. We're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody. We're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote because the Democrats are weak on crime, totally weak on crime. They don't know why. They want to stop because they get mugged too. But we're going to change no cash bail. We're going to change the statute and get rid of some of the other things. And we'll count on the Republicans in Congress and Senate to vote. We have the majority, so we'll vote. We don't have a big majority, but we've gotten everything, including the great, big, beautiful bill. Got that done, and that's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to people in this country. They're starting to figure it out, how good it is. Biggest tax cut in history. So many things. But we'll be able to get that done. So, Todd, if you and Pam can draw up things working with the people, we will. I'll get it passed. We'll get it passed with the Republicans. Probably won't get, think of this, probably won't get one Democrat vote because they have no idea what they're doing. That's why they want men playing in women's sports. That's why they want transgender for everybody transgender. And they just got walloped in an election, in a landslide, and they haven't changed one thing. I saw the other day the certain gentleman who was a very well-known politician, Democrat, was fighting like hell that men should be allowed to play in women's sport. They just don't get it. They said it's an 80-20 issue, and I think it's a 97-3 issue. And I don't know who the three are. I've never heard anybody nobody's ever come up to me, sir, you have to let men play in women's sports. You have to do it, sir. Nobody's ever approached me. I don't know where this issue even comes from. Never seen anything like it. But they turned our nation's capital into a sanctuary jurisdiction. That's the other thing. We have to get rid of sanctuary cities as quickly as possible. We're going to do it, too. We have to. Because it's sanctuary for criminals. Releasing illegal alien gang members onto the streets in 2022, nearly 70% of criminals arrested in Washington went unprosecuted. That's not going to happen with the group we have standing aside and standing behind me. And at the Metropolitan Police Department, it's now reached a small number relatively compared to what it was, but it's thousands of people. You know, we have thousands of police. I was told today, sir, they want more police. I heard a number, 3,500 police. That's a lot of police. 3,500. I thought they were going to say we only have 30 policemen or women. He said we have 3,500. We need more. You don't need more. That's so many. I never heard. That's like an army. How could you need more than 3,000? It just happened 2 minutes ago. Sir, they've requested more police. Oh, what do they have? About 3,500. I said, 3,500? This is not a big area. It's ridiculous. What you need is rules and regulations, and you need the right people to implement them. And we have the right people here, that I can tell you. Look at the border. Biden said, there's nothing you can do. Kamala was the border czar. She never called one of the Border Patrol agents who are great. ICE is great. Never spoke to anybody. Never went there. But she was the border czar. And everybody said it was impossible to fix. I fixed it in 3 months. No, really. I fixed it the first week, but really fixed it over the last couple of months. And I mean, literally to a point where, as I said, 0 illegals entering our country in the last 90 days. Pretty amazing. It's time for dramatic action. We're going to do the same thing over here. It's going to be a very safe city very soon. We're not looking to take years, because a lot of people die in years. And we got incredible people in this country, except we have to allow them to do their job. And that we will deliver like nobody's ever delivered before. I actually think it's easy. You know, if you're competent, it's easy. If you're incompetent, it's impossible. But I'm very competent. Last week, my administration surged 500 federal agents into the district, including from the FBI, ATF, DEA, Park Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. You know, a lot of nations, they don't have anything like that. They got some police, and they're rough police. They don't have DEA, ATF, FBI, Park Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security. They got some police, but they're rough police, and they do their job. They don't have crime. We're not going to have crime either. They made dozens of arrests, and that's what starts to happen. Again, cashless bail. Watch what we do with that. Today, we're formally declaring a public safety emergency. This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was, with graffiti all over the walls. It's another part of it, by the way, because we're talking about safety, but we're also talking about beautification. We have the most beautiful, potentially, capital in the world. We always had. But people come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, they come and then they get mugged. Not going to happen. Keep coming, because by the time you get your trip set, it's going to be safe again, and it's going to be clean very quickly. We're going to replace the medians that are falling down all over the roads. We're going to replace the potholes. We're going to put a nice new coat of asphalt over the top. No, we don't have to rip the road out and spend 7 years building a new road because they cut everything. Because some designers said, well, we need a 1/4 of an inch more turn for safety reasons. No, we're going to do it right. We're going to get it done quickly. So today we're declaring public safety emergency in the District of Columbia, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment. And I'll be making the appropriate notifications to Congress and to the mayor, our new DEA administrator, who's one of the top in the country. He better be Terry. If you're not, I'm going to get rid of you so fast. Terry Cole. Terry, thanks. Very good. We just got him. Most highly recommended person. And you'll be designated as the interim federal commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Department. Okay? And you run them tough. They're good. You have a lot of good people. You have people that shouldn't be there. You also have people that shouldn't be there. They got in there because of woke. But you have a lot of great police. And those people are the ones that want to help you. This city will no longer be a sanctuary for illegal alien criminals. We will have full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and we'll deploy officers across the district with an overwhelming presence. You'll have more police, and you'll be so happy because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police, or you're going to see FBI agents. We're going to have a lot of agents on the streets. You're going to have a lot of essentially military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed. By the way, we're going to have National Guard, but Pete Hegseth will tell you about it. We will bring in the military if needed. People say, "Oh, that's so terrible." He's going to bring in. It's been used many times over the years. I don't think we'll need it. I think we've got so many great people, including the people that are in the police department with proper leadership. They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally. They shouldn't have been allowed in. They come from Venezuela. They come from all over the world. We're going to get them the hell out. They won't be here long. But some of these people, a lot of them, are homegrown criminals. And these are bad people. These are rough people. And this is just a list of some of the people that were given to me today that were criminals removed from the D.C. streets this weekend. They were rough and tough. But we're rougher and tougher. Look at these people here. Nothing, you know. They're not going to be your local school teacher. Look at this guy. He has killed people numerous times. They're not going to be an asset. They will never be an asset to society. I don't care. I know we all want to say, oh, they're going to be rehabbed. It's not going to be rehabbed. I'm going to ask Doug Burgum to come up and say a couple of words because he's in charge, as you know. He's Interior, but he's in charge of the U.S. Park Police. And I've heard so many great things about the Park Police. They're proud of it. They've been there for a long time. Their families oftentimes grow into the roles. They love the country. They love this area. So, Doug, could you say a few words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the U.S. Park Police, this is the oldest federal police force in the nation. They were formed in 1791 by none other than President George Washington. They've got the awesome responsibility of protecting our nation's most sacred monuments. The National Mall, Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, Statue of Liberty, and out west, the Presidio and the Golden Gate area. These folks have tens of millions of visitors a year, the kind of people that President Trump's talking about that come from around the country and around the world to see our sacred and learn about our history and our sacred monuments. They've been doing a fantastic job, but they are so pleased, the rank and file, that President Trump is now allowing them to enforce the law. As those of you that live in the city may know, that the circles and the triangle parks that are spread throughout DC are actually federal park property. So the U.S. Park Police also have responsibility for that. These became littered with homeless camps under the Biden administration. All of you saw that. Since President Trump's executive order on March 27th, making D.C. safe and beautiful again, the U.S. Park Police have removed over 70 homeless camps. And President Trump also talked about beautification. They're stopping in enforcing the laws against graffiti on our monuments. They've removed over 80 specific attacks against our history with graffiti on our monuments. So they continue to do a great job, whether it's in their vehicles, on foot, or on the mounted police that you see around the National Mall. And President Trump, they thank you. The rank and file is so happy to be enforcing the law again. Thank you for your leadership. And they're excited about the announcement you're making today.
Thank you. Very good. Great job you did. Thank you very much. Pete, could you say something about the military?
Oh my God, Pete. Well, Mr. President, it's an honor to be here. And at your direction this morning, we've mobilized the DC National Guard. It'll be operationalized by the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, through the DC Guard. You will see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week. At your direction as well, sir, there are other units we are prepared to bring in. Other National Guard units, other specialized units. They will be strong, they will be tough, and they will stand with their law enforcement partners. This is nothing new for DOD. As the president noted, at the border, we've got 10,000 troops down there who've been operating in defense cooperation areas, defense zones, where there's zero illegal crossings because of troops on strikers scanning the border. We've been protecting other people's borders for 20 years. It's about time we protect our own. And we're working with ICE and CBP. In Los Angeles, we did the same thing. Working with the California National Guard, working with ICE officers. ICE officers deserve to do their job and not be attacked. We will work alongside all DC police and federal law enforcement to ensure this city is safe, this city is beautiful. And as I always say about President Trump to the troops, he has their back. And my message to the National Guard and federal law enforcement in Washington is, we have your back as well. Be tough, be strong, we're right behind you. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm going to ask Pam, because she's now, as you heard me say, she's really in charge of a lot of what we're talking about. She's done an incredible job. People are going to start to see the fruits of her labor. And Pam, maybe you could say a few words about what we're talking about here.
Sure, President. Let me be crystal clear. Crime in DC is ending and ending today. We are going to use every power we have to fight criminals here. President, thank you for caring about our capital. Families come here every summer. Our museums are free. We have the National Zoo. We have the National Gallery. DC should be a place where everyone can come and feel safe. Behind me and to my side, we have some of the best career law enforcement and prosecutors in the country who are ready to take this on. As the president said, Terry Cole is going to be supervising the Metro Police Department. Gaddy Serralta, our U.S. Marshal, is going to be supervising command and control, the entire operation. Our Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, and I will be working with them closely, along with our great FBI Director, Kash Patel. Kash is going to talk to you in a minute about what we did in Virginia recently with Governor Youngkin. Many of you covered that, and it was tremendously successful. Not only that, our secret weapon here in DC is U.S. Attorney Jeannine Pirro, one of the toughest prosecutors and a former judge. And she is going to be talking about juvenile crime, how it's out of control here, and what she's going to do to fight back. No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital. No more teenage girls beating a disabled man to death. No more of that. No more drive-bys. We're going to do everything we can. And working with the ATF Director Driscoll and Commander of the Army, we're going to all work together. That's what we all do in this room. We work together. We fight. Do not underestimate one person in this room. We're going to make DC beautiful. We're going to make DC safe again. One other thing, just at the wharf a few days ago, the area of the wharf, Terry Cole reached out to me, not even nightfall, on the weekend, where so many families and tourists go. A guy's overdosing from fentanyl on a park bench in the middle of families around. They administer Narcan and saved his life. No more of that. The President of the United States is going to clean up DC, and we're going to be there to help him, and we're going to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Cash, talk about Northern Virginia. If you Northern Virginia, we had a big success.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for your leadership, Deputy Attorney General, the rest of our interagency partners. Mr. President, the following is what happens when you let good cops be cops. And I just want to highlight that before I get into Northern Virginia. This year alone, under President Trump's administration, we've had over 4,000 child victims identified and found. That's a 33% increase from the same time period last year. 33% increase. We've had a seizure of 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl up to this date. That is a 25% increase since the same time period last year. And just to put it in perspective, 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl is enough to kill 115 million Americans. 115 million Americans. Cops are getting after it. The FBI has arrested 19,000 people this year alone. Thanks to President Trump's administrations, that's double than where we were this time last year. And we have also arrested 1,600 people who have committed violent acts against children. 270 of them are human traffickers of children. Mr. President, this is what happens when you have great leadership at the Attorney General, with Dan Bondi. Your administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? And what are we going to bring to D.C.? What we did in Northern Virginia, thanks to Terry Cole and Governor Youngkin and the team, we stood up a task force out in my Northern Virginia field office, and we said, let's let good cops be cops. Let's get them the intelligence and what they need, and let's get the red tape out of their way, and let's get DOJ partnered up with us to bring great prosecutions. And that's exactly what we did. In 1 month, we arrested 545 violent felons. 545 in the state of Virginia, thanks to Governor Youngkin's partnership. And that simplicity in law enforcement is what's coming to Washington, D.C. When you let good cops be cops, when you give them the intel they need, when you work with our Homeland Security Task Force, when you work with Terry and Gaddy and I go way back to Miami, these guys are great leaders of the respective departments and law enforcement capacities. And when you have the DOJ and President Trump driving behind this mission, we are going to clean up Washington, D.C., and we're going to do it the right way, the lawful way, and we're going to make sure Washington, D.C. is safe again. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you very much. Good job. Thank you, Cash. So the process begins right now. It actually started over the weekend. We confronted a lot of very bad people, but it's going to be something that will be pretty amazing to you as you watch it. And I think most of you say it's a beautiful thing to do it right. We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all over our parks, our beautiful, beautiful parks, which now a lot of people can't walk on. They're very dirty, we got a lot of problems. But we've already started that. We're moving the encampments away, trying to take care of people. Some of those people, we don't know how they even got there. Some of those people are from different countries, different parts of the world. Nobody knows who they are. They have no idea, but they're there. Getting rid of the people from underpasses and public spaces from all over the city. There are many places that they can go, and we're going to help them as much as you can help. But they'll not be allowed to turn our capital into a wasteland for the world to see. The Metropolitan Police Department and the federal authorities will be supported in the effort, a really big effort, the 800 DC National Guardsmen that we'll put on, and much more if necessary, much more. You remember I said, I offered 10,000 once. Remember I said to a certain person, a person who I thought always was highly overrated, not very competent. But I said, if you need them, we'll give you 10,000 of the military or the National Guard. They turned me down. But if necessary, we're going to move service members directly to joining the Guardsmen, and that'll take place very rapidly, and that'll be done in conjunction with Pam and with Pete and everybody else. Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, and most beautiful cities anywhere in the world, and we're going to make it that. We're going to make it safe. We're going to make it smart. We're going to make it beautiful, so beautiful. Some of the buildings, we're going to add to it. You see what we've done at the White House. White House is a whole different building. I do that in my part-time because it's a natural instinct as a real estate person. I was very good at that, and I was very good at fixing things up. I like fixing things up. You see what's happening. The marble floors are being reinstalled, renovated, fixed. The whole place is becoming very beautiful. We're going to be adding a magnificent ballroom, most beautiful ballroom, I think, anywhere. We need it. I would have certainly loved to have had it today. I think we would have filled it up. A lot of you are standing outside, can't get in this room. I've never seen the room like this, which tells me that you want to talk about, I mean, this was a DC news conference. It tells me that you want to talk about crime in DC and beautification of DC, but I'm going to put that's easy. And I think, frankly, fixing the crime with the pros, fixing the crime is easy too. A person who I've known for a long time, and she's been incredible. She was a fantastic, one of the best ever district attorneys in New York. She was in Westchester, and she became a judge, very successful judge. And then she went into showbiz because she was such a good DA and such a good judge, tough judge, but fair, always fair. Nobody ever complained about that, but she was tough. And because of that and her reputation, she went into showbiz. So a lot of people don't, they think of Jeannine as showbiz. Actually, showbiz was not her thing. And she did great. She was on, along with a couple of other of my friends, on the #1 show. And she did great. But this is what she loves doing. This is really her baby. What she's going to do is going to be incredible. And I'd like to speak for just a few seconds on what she has in mind, what she wants to do. We're going to be appointing some judges. We have some open spots, and we're going to take people because the judges are letting killers out. They just say, go, that's okay, don't worry about it. So we're putting some Pam recommended, Todd recommended, some judges that are great. Jeannine recommended. Jeannine's given me 3 great candidates already. We have about 10 open spots, and we can probably create some more. We need them. Jeannine, would you say a few words, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Madam Attorney General, and to all my partners here. We all want the same thing. We all want a safe city. We want a safe capital. We want to be able to bring our families here. We want to be able to come and enjoy the history that makes this place great. And unfortunately, we are not in that position right now. And Mr. President, I want to thank you for taking the step that we need right now to make criminals understand that they are not going to get away with it anymore. And I'm not going to stand here and go over and over the cases. But what I can tell you is this. I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the DC Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens. And it starts today. But it's not going to end today because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you. And my final note is this. These kids understand that the jurisdiction is through the state attorney general, Brian Schwab. I did a poster of the young man from Doge who was beaten bloody with a severe concussion, a broken nose. And then I did a poster of what happens to those kids because I can't arrest them. I can't prosecute them. They go to family court and they get to do yoga and arts and crafts. Enough. It changes today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Great job. Thank you. If I could, I just signed some executive orders. I'd like to have Will please come up and we'll let the people know what we signed. Do you want to put them down?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
A short while ago in the Oval Office, President Trump signed 2 crucial executive actions to deal with the emergency crime conditions we currently face in the District of Columbia. The first of these was an executive order, as President Trump said before, invoking his powers under Section 40 of the Home Rule Act to take federal control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Along with that executive order, President Trump signed the statutorily required notification letters to Mayor Bowser and to the relevant House and Senate committee leaders. The second major executive action that President Trump signed was a presidential memorandum directing the Secretary of Defense to utilize the National Guard to address the conditions we see on our streets here in D.C. It also authorized the Secretary of Defense to work with state governors to utilize their National Guard units if necessary as well. These are bold, decisive steps intended to combat the out-of-control crime conditions we've seen on D.C.'s streets for far too long. And I, for one, am deeply proud to be part of an administration that's finally coming to terms with these issues, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you. So, just to conclude, Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, most beautiful places anywhere in the world. It was years ago. We had one problem that was a pretty big problem. The radical left got out of control and they started trying to rip down statues. And I said, let's go pass a law real fast. We're going to do it real fast, but we were blocked by the Democrats who do not want safety. Nobody gets it. I don't get it. They don't get it because they can't get votes. I don't know how they can win an election with this, but they don't want safety. And I found an old statute, very old, early 1900s, that said if you so much as touch or even think about destroying a statue or a monument in Washington, D.C., you go to jail for 10 years with no probation, no anything. In other words, slightly different than we have today. Today we have cashless bail. There you get jailed 10 years. No curtailed sentence, 10 years. And we took it out. Nobody used it. It was never used because, you know, it's harsh. And you remember they started to rip down the statue of Abraham Lincoln. I said, that's a tough one to rip down. He was pretty good, Pam. I think he was pretty good. When the rope started going around Abraham Lincoln to pull him down, Andrew Jackson, others, and they were heading to the Jefferson Memorial, Thomas Jefferson. They're going to do a big number there. I said, it's time. And I signed that statute immediately. We had it updated. We made it use the same language, all passed by Congress. And I announced it's 10 years in jail, no probation, no anything, 10 years, no curtail sentence if you touch so much as touch a statue in Washington, D.C. And it was an amazing sight, beautiful sight. Everybody just left. The ropes were hanging around Andrew Jackson, and there were 2 ropes around Abraham Lincoln. They left the rope, but everybody just left. And that was the last problem we ever had. You know, that was the last problem that we ever had with the statues. They were going wild. And somebody came to me and said, sir, in 1910, I don't want to give you an exact because you'll say, Donald Trump gave us wrong dates around like early on. You know, if I'm slightly off, they make you sound a little bad. So I won't put myself in that position. I won't put you in that position because I think everybody agrees with what we're doing today. But when I signed that thing, it was like a miracle. Everybody left. They were gone. They were starting to march down. They started the march toward Thomas Jefferson. And I figured he was always going to be safe. But they found something with him, and they found something with Abraham Lincoln. And even in the name George Washington in California, numerous places changed the name of George Washington High School and various other places. They took George Washington's name. This was a sick, woke culture that I think we've largely ended. And a lot of those people that were woke are now turning out to be the opposite. I won't go so far as to say MAGA. It's a very special category. But they've gotten out of that. But we have people that love this country and they love this really beautiful capital. It is. I flew over it the other day and I said, what a beautiful place. But if there's crime all over the streets, when you get there, it doesn't look so beautiful, but we're going to make it beautiful again. We're going to fix it with crime. We're going to also, as we're doing that, we're going to start doing things that we know how to do, that I know how to do better than anybody, I guess, because of my experience from previous life. But not only are we stopping the crime, we're going to clean up the trash and the graffiti and the grime and the dirt and the broken marble panels and all of the things they've done to hurt this city. And we're going to restore the city back to the gleaming capital that everybody wants it to be. It's going to be something very special. All of these people are really tough. Could I shake your hand, Gaddy, please? You're going to be so important here. You're going to be that guy. I hope I don't have to fire him in 2 weeks because he's too soft. I don't think he's too soft. If I do, I will, though. Is it okay if you're soft, weak, and pathetic like so many people? I will fire you so fast. You're not going to have to worry about that. No, I think you're going to do a fantastic job. And everybody in this room, they may not express it, but they all want that to happen. You know, they want to be safe, and they have families too. So it's an honor to have such a large group. I've done this for years now, hard to believe. I've never seen this room so packed. In fact, I'm sure it's a violation of every fire code. But we'll let you stay anyway. You're taking a chance. And with that, we'll say maybe if you could. Oh, wow. We could be here all day long. If we could keep the first questions perhaps to this subject, and then we'll go on to a few others. Please.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Can you talk about how personal of an issue this is? We talked about flying over the Washington Monument and seeing the pride of what D.C. is, and do you believe that the status of the city, the cleanliness, the way that crime is low, is a direct reflection on how the country is run?
Yeah, I do. I think the Capitol, look, everyone comes here. They're all coming. All the leaders, they're all wanting to come. And I say it, I've said it again, but I'm really just quoting other leaders from NATO, from the Middle East, King of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. I was over there. We brought back $5.1 trillion of investment into our country. But I was, a month and a half ago, I was at NATO. We had a great thing. They agreed to put up 5% instead of 2%. 2% they didn't pay, 5% is already paid. We had a great meeting, and they all said the same thing. They said our country was dead. They thought our country was gone. 1 year ago, they said your country was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We do. We have the hottest country in the world right now. The tariffs have helped. It's given us not only the money, it's billions, trillions of dollars of money, but it gives us great power over enemies. We solved 5 wars with Pakistan and India. We just solved one. Azerbaijan and, as you know, and Armenia. War was raging for 37 years. And the 2 leaders got up and they said, we never thought this would be solved. Russia tried to solve it. They all tried to solve it. It was a very tough situation, but we got it done. And I said to the 2 men, I said, are you guys friends? And they had a hard time. You know, they've been killing each other for 37 years, right? One was there 5 years. One was there for 22 years. He said, my whole life I've been fighting this war. And you got it solved. But we did many of those. We did in the Congo and Rwanda. That's been going on for 30 years. 8 to 9 million people killed that they know of, but it was raging, and we got that solved. We got a lot of them done. It's a great honor. But you want to have, when they come, the leaders come to our country to sign documents that the war is over or whatever, or for other reasons. They come for trade. And you want them to come through so beautifully. You ride down those roads, everything should be perfect. You shouldn't have medians falling down into the roadway. Median, you know, the metal things that are always, somebody had a great lobbyist, because I've never seen them look good. I've been looking at those things with the little, right? They're always broken, bad, but here they're really bad. And we're going to either put new or fix it. And it's not expensive. It's not really expensive. And we're going to fix our roads a little bit. We're going to clean up our sidewalks. You have countries where every Saturday, the people go out and they wash their sidewalks in front of their stores or their houses. They scrub their sidewalks. So we aren't quite at that level yet. I don't think, Gaddy, we're not quite there yet, but maybe we will. They go out and they scrub. I think it's so beautiful to hear that and to see those stories. But we're going to make it clean. But just to finish with your question, it's a very, very strong reflection of our country. And when they see a bad city, you know, my father always used to tell me, I had a wonderful father, very smart. And he used to say, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in. Because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our Capitol's dirty, our whole country is dirty, and they don't respect us. So it's a very good question.
Mr. President, sorry.
Good
Question for you on the specific issue. Do you expect more cities to follow DC's path if this goes through? So the idea is that Chicago, LA, San Francisco, would they expect similar action what we've seen in DC? Any other questions, sir? There's reporting that the administration is going to reclassify marijuana. Would that send mixed messages that if marijuana is okay, some drugs are okay, we're trying to clean up crime? How do they go hand in hand?
We're only looking at that. That's early, but you know, somebody reported it, which is fine. We're looking at it. Some people like it. Some people hate it. Some people hate the whole concept of marijuana because if it does bad for the children, it does bad for people that are older than children. But we're looking at reclassification, and we'll make a determination over the next few weeks. And that determination hopefully will be the right one. It's a very complicated subject, the subject of marijuana. I've heard great things having to do with medical, and I've had bad things having to do with just about everything else. But medical and, for pain and various things, I've heard some pretty good things. But for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things. The other part of your question, I mean, we're just going to see what happens with it all. We're going to have a tremendous success in what we're doing. Other cities are hopefully watching this. They're all watching, just like everyone's watching here. They're all watching, and maybe they'll self clean up, and maybe they'll self do this and get rid of the cashless bail thing and all of the things that caused the problem. I mean, if you go back, this whole thing with cashless bail is a disaster. So many problems came that we never had before. So they're watching us today, and if they don't learn their lesson, if they haven't studied us properly, because we're going to be very successful. I have zero doubt about that. It's going to be, it's a question of will it be really fast, like the border. You know, everyone said, they used to say, Biden used to say, I need legislation. I didn't get any legislation. I called up our people, and we did a great job. Tom Homan was great. Our secretary did a great job. They did a great job. There's no games. They didn't play games. And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at LA, if we didn't go to LA 3 months ago, LA would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would have allowed the water to come down, which I told him about in my first term, I said, you're going to have problems, let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into LA. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully LA is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning. They lost like 25,000 homes. I went there the day after the fire. You were there, and I saw people standing in front of a burned down home. It was, their homes were incinerated. They weren't like, even the steel was literally, it was all warped and literally disintegrated because of the winds and the flame and the whole thing, like a blowtorch. They were standing on this beautiful day, maybe a couple of days after. We gave it a little time because what they had suffered, almost 25,000 homes. And you see what's happening now. They didn't give their permits. I went to a town hall meeting. I said, we're going to get you the federal permits, which are much harder. Almost immediately, Lee Zeldin is a star. He did an incredible job. They have all their federal permits. They don't have their city permits. And the mayor said to me, we think we could have them in 2 years. I was walking down the street and I met with firemen and police. And I was saying hello to many people that were standing in front of their homes with yellow tape. You can't go in. You can't go onto the lot. And those people wanted to start rebuilding their homes then and there. And the mayor said, we should be able to get them the permits within 2 years. I said, that's a shame. 2 years. Are you kidding? I'm going to get them the federal permit like almost immediately, 2 years. And she drew it back. Well, maybe 1 year. The place was booing her out of the place. They don't have their permits to build their homes. And now they're talking about putting, this is among the most beautiful areas was in the country. Now they're talking about putting low-income housing there. Can you believe this? I love low-income housing. I made money with low-income housing. I built low-income housing. I know more about low-income housing and luxury housing. I know about everything real estate. They want to replace some of those homes with low-income housing. They haven't gotten their permits yet. We've gotten all the federal permits, which are much tougher to get. And it was done almost immediately through Lee Zeldin and Federal Environmental. And I watched the other day, those people are angry. And now, you know, they had tremendous, they loved that area. They loved the whole big area, different places, but they loved it. It was all luxury stuff and beautiful stuff. And some wasn't that luxury, but the level of love for that neighborhood, their neighborhoods was incredible. And you know what? I watched people on television, they want to go, they want to leave. They've lost their spirit, they've lost their heart because the mayor's incompetent. And Gavin Newsom is incompetent. Got a good line of bullshit, but that's about it. He's incompetent. And you have Los Angeles.
I didn't hear him say that.
You know, it's amazing. You know, I called, the first thing I did, I got the Olympics to go there. I was the one that got it. And by a rare thing that happened, I'll be the president. I was very upset because I got the Olympics there and I said, I won't be president when it comes, but bad things happened and illegal things happened, really illegal things happened. Now it turns out one good thing was I'm going to be the president for the Olympics for 2050, for 250, which is going to be fantastic, and also for the World Cup. So we have a lot of good things, and I hope 250 is going to be the 250th anniversary is going to be the best. But when I looked at those people, and I saw last night on television that they still don't have their permits, it's a disgrace what's happened in Los Angeles.
Thank you. The China tariff deadline is tonight, but do you plan to extend that?
We'll see what happens. China's been, we've been dealing very nicely with China, as you probably have heard. They have tremendous tariffs that they're paying to the United States of America. And we'll see what happens. They've been dealing quite nicely. The relationship is very good with President Xi and myself.
You mentioned your upcoming meeting with President Putin. Can you tell us what you hope to get out of that and whether you consider inviting President Zelensky to join?
So you have to understand, this is a war that should have never happened. This is a war that wouldn't have happened if I were president. It would have never happened. It was the apple of his eye. I got along very well with President Putin. But if you look, under President Bush, they took a lot of territory. Under President Obama, they took a lot of territory. Under Biden, they essentially took the whole thing. You know, it's just a question of time. Under Trump, you know what they took? Nothing. Nothing. I was the one that said, you can't build your pipeline. That was half built. I came in, I stopped the pipeline. It's called Nord Stream 2. Nobody knows that, you know. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. You might have not even heard it. Biggest pipeline in the world. I stopped it. I was not a friend of Russia, but I got along well with Putin. It's always good to get along with other countries if possible, but that doesn't mean you roll over like Biden did. Biden came in and he immediately approved the pipeline. I couldn't believe it. Then they say Trump wasn't tough on Russia. I wasn't tough. I was the toughest. Putin said, if you're not tough, I would hate like hell to see you visit. I stopped the biggest economic development job, the biggest job that Russia had ever built. I stopped it. It was dead. And this low IQ president came in and he let them build a pipeline and supply oil and gas all over Europe, you know? So this is really a feel-out meeting a little bit. And President Putin invited me to get involved. He wants to get involved. I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times. And I've been disappointed because I'd have like a great call with him, and then missiles would be lobbed into Kiev or some other place, and you'd have 60 people laying on a road dying. I said, that's cold. That's cold. But it's a violent war. 5,000 to 7,000 people a week are dying. And there's nobody from here. They're all Russian and Ukrainian people, and some people from the cities, much smaller number, but still, those missiles do damage and they kill a lot of people, but mostly soldiers. And they're young soldiers, although in the case of Ukraine, they're getting much older. They're drafting 60-year-olds now. It's a terrible thing to witness. And I think I have an obligation. Look, this is Joe Biden's war. This is not my war. I made a deal with NATO a month ago. You covered it very accurately, actually. We don't pay anything anymore. We're not paying anything. They are buying things from us, and NATO is paying us. I got it raised from 2% of GDP to 5%. And they're paying us for everything that we send. We're not paying. But Biden approved $350 billion. Europe has spent $100 billion. The money that's been spent and the death is incredible. It's the worst thing that's happened, by far the worst that's happened since World War II. So I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war. You got to end it. And he wasn't going to mess with me. This war would have never happened. We had a discussion about it one time, and we never had that discussion again. Would have never happened. And when the election was rigged, and then Biden took office, which was barely took office. The auto pen took office. Bad things started happening. Bad things, stupid things were said. And it ended up in a war. And and I don't believe this will happen anymore because I have that pretty well covered. This could end up in a third world war. This could have been a third world war. I don't think that's going to happen now. But I thought it was very respectful that the president of Russia is coming to our country as opposed to us going to his country or a third party place. But I think we'll have constructive conversations. Then after that meeting, immediately, maybe as I'm flying out, maybe as I'm leaving the room, I'll be calling the European leaders who I get along with very well. And, I have a great relationship, I think, with all of them. And I get along with Zelensky, but, I disagree with what he's done. Very, very severely disagree. This is a war that should have never happened, wouldn't have happened. But I'll be speaking to Zelensky. The next meeting will be with Zelensky and Putin, or Zelensky and Putin and me. I'll be there if they need, but I want to have a meeting set up between the two leaders. I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelensky was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad. But it's very complex because you have lines that are very uneven, and there'll be some swapping. There'll be some changes in land, and the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine. But they've taken some very prime territory. They've taken largely ocean, in real estate, we call it oceanfront property. That's always the most valuable property. If you're in a lake, a river, or an ocean, it's always the best property. Well, Ukraine, a lot of people don't know that Ukraine was largely 1,000 miles of ocean. That's gone. Other than one small area, Odessa, it's a small area. There's just a little bit of water left. So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now, I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders right after the meeting, yeah. And I'm going to tell them what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal should be made for both. I think Russia has to get back into building their country. It's a massive country. I think they have 11 time zones, if you can believe it. It's a massive, it's by far, from the standpoint of land, it's by far the largest. They have tremendous potential in Russia to do well. They're not doing well. Their economy is not doing well right now because it's been very well disturbed by this. It doesn't help when the president of the United States tells their largest or second largest oil buyer that we're putting a 50% tariff on you if you buy oil from Russia. That was a big blow. And then they say, gee, he wasn't so tough. Nobody else would have done that. And I haven't stopped there. I mean, look, I was all set to do things far bigger than that, but I got a call that they'd like to meet, and I'm going to see what they want to meet about. I'd like to see a ceasefire. I'd like to see the best deal that could be made for both parties. You know, it takes two to tango, right? So ultimately, I'll have a meeting next week. I had a great relationship with him, considering the fact that, I was not nice to him because of the pipeline. I ended the pipeline. I also gave the javelins. Do you ever hear of a javelin? Javelin is called a tank buster. They say that Obama gave them sheets and I gave them javelins. If it weren't for me, all those tanks that were destroyed at the first days of the war because the tanks got stuck in the mud, some commander made a better. They would have been in Kiev in 4 hours going down the highway. But a Russian general made a brilliant decision to go through the farmland instead. And they just had torrential rains, and the rains were so bad, and it was mud, and those tanks got stuck in the mud. I don't know who that general is, but knowing Vladimir, he's probably not around any longer because all those tanks were stuck in the mud, and they went along with the javelins. I gave them the javelins. You know that, right? I gave them javelins. They gave them sheets. But I'm going to meet with President Putin, and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders, and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first, and then I'll call them after. And I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say we can make a deal.
If not,
I will tell you this. I've seen a poll coming out of Ukraine. 88% of the people would like to see a deal made. And if you go back 3 years, everybody was gung-ho for war. Everybody's gung-ho for war until you have it. It's an amazing thing. I had it with a couple of countries where I couldn't get a deal done with one particular country. And I just couldn't. The guy's great. He's a friend of mine. Great. Good leader. Tough as hell. I couldn't get the deal done. And then he went into war for a short period of time. You know where I'm talking about. First term. And it was nasty. Guys being killed all over the place. And he went through 1 week of war, and I was able to get the deal done. He said, this is nasty. Yes, please.
Yeah, just to follow up on what you were saying there. First of all, Volodymyr Zelensky is not invited on Friday?
He wasn't a part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. He's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
And what is the definition?
I mean, do you want somebody that's been doing this for 3.5 years? What's the definition of a good deal? I'll tell you after I hear what the deal is, because there could be many definitions. You're talking about a very large and complex situation. Now, I tell you, the war that I just settled with Azerbaijan and with, as you know, and Armenia was almost as complex as this one, having to do with route trade.
Meeting on Friday with Vladimir Putin.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be
How will
made.
you know that?
Because that's what I do. I make deals.
Because
that's what I do. I make deals. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to ask you two questions, one about China, one about Russia, if I could. On China, your administration agreed to send the most advanced or advanced NVIDIA and AMD chips.
No, obsolete. No.
Obsolete chip. Well, and then 15% of the profits.
You mean the 20s? No. This is an old chip that China already has. And I deal with Jensen, who's a great guy, and NVIDIA. The chip that we're talking about, the H20, it's an old chip. China already has it in a different form, different name, but they have it. or they have a combination of two will make up for it and even then some. Now, Jensen's a very brilliant guy, and Jensen also has a new chip, the Blackwell. Do you know what the Blackwell is? The Blackwell is super duper advanced. I wouldn't make a deal with that, although it's possible I'd make a deal, a somewhat enhanced in a negative way Blackwell. In other words, take 30% to 50% off of it. But that's the latest and the greatest in the world. Nobody has it. They won't have it for 5 years. But the H20 is obsolete. You know, it's one of those things, but it still has a market. So I said, listen, I want 20% if I'm going to approve this for you, for the country, for our country, for the U.S. I don't want it myself. You know, every time I say like 747, I want, yeah, for the Air Force. So I just wanted. So when I say I want 20, I want for the country. I only care about the country. I don't care about myself. And he said, would you make it 15? So we negotiate a little deal. So he's selling a essentially old chip that Huawei has a similar chip, a chip that does the same thing. And I said, good, if I'm going to give it to you, because they have a, they have a stopper, what we call a stopper, not allowed to do it. A restricted is really known as a restrictive covenant. And I said, if I'm going to do that, I want you to pay us as a country something, because I'm giving you a release. I released them only from the H20. Now, on the Blackwell, I think he's coming to see me again about that. But that will be a unenhanced version of the big one. Like, I don't know if you know it, we will sometimes sell fighter jets to a country and we'll give them 20% less than we have. You know what I mean, right? That's the same.
So on Russia, do you see a time, Mr. President, when there could be normal trade between the U.S. and Russia? Should your meeting go well? Should there be peace?
I do, yeah. Russia has a very valuable piece of land. If Vladimir Putin would go toward business instead of toward war, you know, it's a warring nation. That's what they do. They fight a lot of wars. A friend of mine said Russia's tough because they just keep on fighting. They beat Hitler, so did we. And they beat Napoleon. You know, they've been doing this for a long time. I asked a question to a very, very smart man that some people like and some people don't like. Viktor Orban, right? From Hungary, the head of Hungary. And he's in that same area and knows the two countries very well. I said, this was before Biden didn't do anything to get us out of it. He could have gotten us out of that. It would have never happened. I said, so can Russia be beaten by Ukraine? He looked at me like, what a stupid question. He said, Russia's a massive country and they win their country and they win their life through wars. They fight wars. That's what they do. He said, China beats you with trade. Russia beats you with war. That was a very interesting statement. China's not beating us with trade, not when I'm in charge, but they were beating Biden with trade, but they never beat us with trade. Don't forget, China had to pay $400 billion worth of tariffs when I was last time. That was last time. And if we didn't have COVID, all of this stuff we would be loaded. We're finding hundreds of billions of dollars of cash is pouring into our country now because of tariffs. And all we're doing is we're doing what they do to us. It's so beautiful to see it. They found last month, as you saw, $25 billion of excess cash flow. They're saying, where did it come from? I said, I'll tell you where it came from. It came from a place called tariffs. And we're doing very well. We're really doing well. But I expect to have a meeting with Putin that I think it'll be good, but it might be bad. And I'm here for one reason, to get rid of a war that somebody else started. Should have never happened. And if I could end it, great. Complex war, a lot of bad blood, But Zelensky's been there for 3.5 years. So if you put him in a room, now I will say this, ultimately I'm going to put the two of them in a room. I'll be there or I won't be there. And I think it'll get solved. Yeah, please be happy.
Mr. President. Excuse me, I'm going to suggest, because do you have any other questions on DC? Because I don't want them to be, wait. These are incredible people. I don't want them to be standing up here on subjects. Does anybody have a question of them? And then you guys can leave. Okay, a question, Brian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right.
And by the way, this is only on DC, and then they're going to leave because it's unfair to have them stand up here all day long.
I
Brian.
agree. I've got two questions for you. First, about DC. This is personal for me as well. Last year, I was robbed on the streets by one of these teenage thugs. Had a gun, got away with it. Let's talk about the effort that between law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges, because it's a recycling belt. Like, these kids go, they don't fear the police. They know it. If you talk about how we've got to get these judges and put these kids behind bars, right. Adult crimes deserve adult penalties. And my second question, I'll have you answer that, please.
You want me to answer?
Or whoever wants to take it.
Okay, it's real. Do you want me to answer it? Here's the problem. Assuming that they're 17 years, older than 17 years old, I can get the case. If they're under 18 years of age, I can only get the case if it's murder, rob one, rape, or even if they shoot a gun but don't kill you, I can't get it. So the law has to be changed. As the president said, cashless bail. That has to be changed. All right. Then, even assuming I get the case, I get jurisdiction, I get a conviction, the DC Council has given the judges the ability to give probation on shootings. And so then it's up to them. All of these things, the Youth Rehabilitation Incarceration Reduction Act, and now they want to seal records. So if we work hard, we get a conviction, they want to wipe it out. So that needs all to be changed.
Okay, Mr. Question.
Pam, would you answer that also?
Yeah, and just back to that topic. Let's be clear, though. We're going to charge them, and we're going to track every single thing they do throughout every step of the court process and report back to you and let all of you know what's happening to them. Because the people who are prosecuting them, the judges who are trying them, they also need to be held accountable.
Mr. President, you also made a comment. This is the most people we've ever seen in this briefing.
I've never seen
ever, right?
Yes. I've never seen any. Where's Caroline? Where's my superstar? Caroline. Is Caroline in the back? Where's Caroline? Come here, Caroline. Come here, Caroline. Come here. Is she doing a good job, by the way? Come here, Caroline. Is this the largest crowd that you've ever seen?
This is definitely the most packed briefing, and I think all of you would agree. I think it's why we need to build a ballroom.
Mr. President, I have a better idea.
All right, Brian, go ahead.
My question is this. You're building the big, beautiful ballroom.
Yeah.
Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room, updated technology, more seats?
I don't want to do that. I don't want you to be comfortable. So no, I don't want to make life comfortable. So look. Let's just do this. Let's do this. It's going to be a big thing. We're going to Russia. That's going to be a big deal. What happens, happens. I'll let you know what happens. You'll be the first to know. I'll be calling the European leaders. I'm going with totally. I mean, we have a lot of talks. They're great people. They're great leaders, actually, and they want to get back. Honestly, as one of them said, I've OD'd on trying to settle Ukraine. They've OD'd, meaning they've overdosed on the settlement of Ukraine. Not a nice expression, but boy, is it accurate. They're tired of it. They want to get back to spending money on their countries. You know, Biden gave them $350 billion. Europe gave $100 billion. It should be much more than that. Shouldn't have been that kind of, they should have had equalization, but they didn't. But you know what? Still a lot of money. They want to get back to building their own countries. They really want it resolved. My relationship with the European leaders, as you saw, is extremely good. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Wait. And we're going to try, I'll be in touch with them. I have 5 of them call me. You think it's easy. There are a lot of European leaders.
but they rely on me, very much rely on me. If it wasn't for me, this thing would never get solved until the last person breathing is dead.
Would you talk to them before?
Yeah, I did. I'm talking to him right now. So I'm talking to the European leaders. I'll be talking to President Zelensky. I'm going to get everybody's ideas. I go into that thing fully loaded right up there, and we're going to see what happens. Now, I think one of two things is going to happen. It's going to be a good meeting, and we'll go a step further. We'll get it done. I'd like to see a ceasefire very, very quickly. Very quick. I'd like to see it immediately, but I'd like to see it very quickly. And we're going to be dealing with the European leaders, and we're going to be dealing with President Zelensky, and hopefully we're going to have a great success. As far as this, what we did today, and I think you were here for DC more so than even Russia, because Russia will be, we have a couple of days to go, but the Russia is going to be very interesting. But to me, what is very exciting, and we're going to take back our capital. We're going to make it beautiful again, but we're going to make it, more importantly, safe again. It's going to be so safe. It's going to be a model. And then we'll look at other cities also. But other cities are studying what we're doing. And you have some capable people in other cities. They can do it too. But we have a great group of professionals. We're going to have a safe, beautiful capital, and it's going to happen very quickly. Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
The Justice Department appeal the Epstein decision today, Mr. President. How long will
He did not want to answer that question, did he? Who's in the chat? Ryan, what's up, buddy? What's up, Alienated? What's up, Billy? Hold on. Oh, shit. Here's the National Guard arriving in Washington. Uh-oh. I don't really want to show it, but it does look interesting. Was here earlier and fell asleep. I'm at my final week stage. Yeah, I feel you, Billy, about, getting new stuff. I showed other things, and everything that everybody talked about led to that. To be honest. I wasn't really trying to show too much stuff. I have to get it all redone. I don't know who's all in here. I can't really tell. Am I on all chat? Yeah. Alienated. You work? You just get off work? Well, my opinion though, on what I'm seeing right now is with Trump. What he's doing in DC, part of it seems kind of insane. And then the other part of him cleaning up the roads, cleaning up the graffiti, cleaning up the town, making it look correct, that doesn't sound crazy to me. I mean, when you think about hiring a politician or voting for somebody, that's what you think of them wanting to do, is clean up the cities, clean up your own country, clean up the infrastructure. So I don't think that sounds too crazy. The one thing that did sound crazy to me was when they talked about when they talked about what they were going to do with the drug addicts and the homeless people. They're like, we're either going to make them go to rehab, or we're going to put them in, go to rehab, whatever the other was, and then, or go to prison. It's like, look, dude, if they don't want to go to rehab, you're going to send them to prison. That one, I don't know. That one seemed a little too much for me. I don't know. You're off today and yesterday? Oh, no doubt. Is that why I saw you earlier yesterday for some reason? So yeah, that part was, so what they were talking about, what they're going to do with the homeless in this, that I still want to hear more. And then earlier we talked about, Judge Jeannine talked about that barbecue guy. And, he was a bad dude. He was a bad man. That popcorn, he was a bad man. No, he really was. He got his name for a reason. I'd go back and watch the beginning if you haven't watched it, because, man, it was like 72 people he incinerated or something. That's crazy. That guy was insane. But yeah. Ryan, are you almost done doing your deeds? I'm getting ready to. I'm getting off. I'm just checking out to see how long this would go. You know, I'm just trying to see how long this would go, Ryan. I don't even know if I don't know if I'll leave it. If I'll even leave it up or not. To be honest. But Alien, I'll see you when I'm about to get off here in a minute. Marley's yelling at me. She's telling me to get off. But yeah, I'll be getting off, and yeah, let's play some pokes or something. I'm assuming it's poker time. I don't know. Is there anybody in here that I didn't say that was up to? No? Thanks, Sean Willis. Thank you for popping in and helping out. Ryan, Billy, Alienated. That's what I'm saying, Alienated. I'm sitting here going, what is going on, bro? I'm going, what is going on? Like for real. It's like they just said, fuck you. You know? It's like they were just like, fuck you, bro. Unreal. I don't know what to say about fucking YouTube, bro. YouTube's on bullshit. That's all I can say. I'm gonna have to figure something out, because today it's just like anticlimactic. But where the hell's right? Dude, I didn't even get 20 likes, bro. That's fucked up, dude. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. But did you hit the like, Alien? I'm trying to think of what the other one was. Oh, it was just the same stuff, you know, talking about cleaning up the cities. It does seem like it's going to, you know, seems like it's turning into a police state. It did seem like Trump was down with the green, though. If you smoke, it did seem like he was down with the Mary Jane. It didn't seem like he was against it. So, I mean, everything else seems legit to me. Like, I don't care about that other shit. I don't care if it's around. Honestly. I don't give a fuck. All right, nobody's commenting. This is the craziest live I've ever done. Nobody's commenting. There's not shit. Honestly, maybe I should start doing lives just without anything. Yeah, you guys are just fucking sitting there in the damn fucking chat not saying shit, assholes. That's why the chat's not fucking moving. Hit the fucking like. Take that thumb that you have at the end of the like and shove it in your freaking ass. I'm just joking. What's up, Billy? You're supposed to be the entertainment entrepreneur. No shit, Alienated. No damn shit. I should have showed the damn video of the damn police. If I was just gonna sit here and talk, I should have showed the video of all the police coming in to DC. That shit probably is gonna be crazy. To be honest, I'm not gonna show it now, but I should have. Nobody fucking I'm looking at this going, pretty much what I feel like. I don't know. I gotta see. There's something going on. Because it's like no drastic drops. So there's something going on to where it's just like the first half hour didn't get nothing. It's back to that shit. It used to do that before. You'd have to wait like a half hour to an hour to start getting people to come in. And I feel like that's what it did today. But when you're doing a live stream with a live press conference that's 45 minutes and it takes a half an hour for them to bring in your viewers, that means the majority of what you were going to present is gone. You know? So I had 2 like 45-minute speeches or something, and it gave me, and then like a half-hour clip, and it took a half hour. So really I got an hour and a half of like actual, like, I had to wait so that whole entire news clip was just pointless. I'm just trying to figure it out because it's changed again. And it's not just for me. It's changed. The algorithms changed for a bunch of people. Now I'm just trying to figure out what the hell I should do with it. Ryan. Ryan. You know, I'm trying to figure out like if I should show different shit, go away from the politics again, even though that's what got me a whole bunch of people. Like, I don't know. I'm debating over here because I'm like this. Well, shit. I gotta go feed my cat. Hybrid, do both. Yesterday they were at 3,500 for like, I don't know how much time it was. Probably a half hour more than I am today, and it's like about to be at 33 or 2,300 today. It got like 35, and 35 still isn't that bad at the end of the day. Isn't like the worst. It's just like what happened to all the commenters, man. It was going crazy there for a minute. Reading all them damn comments. You know? But I feel like yesterday should have definitely had more views because it was such an important press conference. Like, I was shocked because it was like way bigger. Like, I was looking back at other streams I did, and like one of like a dumb one that made no sense at all. Just like the bilateral conference got so many more views than that one, and that one was huge. So that's why I'm saying it. That make no sense. It's like the bilateral one got like just so many more views. So when you say hybrid, Billy, you mean like do some truth and do some damn, or do what? Like sit here and talk like this while I'm showing videos? I need to get my if I did something like that where I would talk way more during the videos, I would need to place my camera like where I'm at right now, like on the side, and make it bigger, obviously. So I don't know, y'all. I don't know. But it is what it is, yo. It is what it is. I will see everybody on Discord here in a minute. You know, I don't know. I debate if I should try going live late again, like at night, or if I should try the morning, or if I should even look. I haven't even looked at my when. Usually YouTube was telling me when to go live, and I haven't been looking at that. I just been going live when I want. So maybe I should look at that stuff. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. Like yesterday, it gave me at least 50 something people. It didn't give me more than 30 today. I don't think. I'll find out when this stream ends, but I don't think it gave me more than 30 people. So, but all right, y'all, I'm out of here. I just wanted to chop it up. I'm out. Y'all have a good one. God bless. Peace out, Mom.